Hello, friends. We are back with Namaste Today Live, and we are experiencing this week solar eclipse aftermath. I will have stories for you to talk about what it hit and how it hit, and also another hit coming. Surprise, surprise, this Saturday, October 5th. All that and more on Namaste Today Live. Keep streaming. Welcome to Namaste Today Live. I'm your host, psychic astrologer, Sensei Christopher Witecki, the sensei to SeriousJoy.com. I am your trusted channel to the step astrology method and your conscious operating system to reach enlightenment. We're so happy to be here live, and we are live on all of our super channels. We are combining YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, and Instagram all at the same time. By the way, if you're in a chat on any of these platforms, you're also being brought together in what we call a super chat. And do us a favor, say hello to the newbies. Tell them your name, your sign, and where you're chatting from. We love to do a shout out. We are doing shout outs now at the end of the show, FYI, just because we're trying to streamline this process. We've got an amazing show, folks, all sorts of things to talk about. As I mentioned, we had a solar eclipse this week that knocked everyone on their astro. People are still recovering and they're still having breakdown moments. I'll be talking about that. And then I'll be talking about the influence that has on your existing life relationships. That's where the next implosion may happen, is in the way you relate to others. And later tonight on ASTRO MINGLE, Alison Elsberry. She is a baby child soul whisperer, okay? Y'all, the most incredible light worker and woman who's ever come here in this sense. She's a pediatric occupational therapist turned spiritual medium channel to Mother Mary. That's right. That's Jesus's mother, helping her to help infants, help children, and help identify the inner child in you that still may be hurting. But first, I think it's time we take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. Zodiac weather is from Saturday, October 5th to Friday, October 11th, 2024. Looking first at your weekend forecast, it looks as though the weekend's about stirring up the story and innovating your odds. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and rather reserved. This despite Jupiter ruling the day. Following your heart's feelings, you'll have an expansion of opportunities and a fresh perspective will be born. Did I mention it's also Love Fest Day? Tell everyone you love that you love them on Saturday. On Sunday, it's sunny and positive. Step 13 indicates Uranus is the ruling planet. Uranus brings themes like breakdown and breakthrough and expect the unexpected. Therefore, it's time in Libra to receive relationship changes, maybe some that weren't expected. New boundaries in relationships will bring emotional maturity to the person who put them forth. Mercury squaring Mars means the mind and the ego have a tug-of-war about what to commit to, and the moon in Scorpio seals the deal by closing the boundary. Looking forward now to the 5-day weekday forecast. Over the arc of the week, you begin very clear about what relationships aren't working, and by the end of the week, you're committing to what you want to change. On Monday, it's sunny and interesting. Step 14 indicates Mercury is the ruling planet of the day. Expect a lot of processing and communication. You are therefore receiving new opinions about things and moving forward with your plans. The moon will shift from Scorpio to Sagittarius at 7:34 p.m., indicating a serious to light energy. And Venus conjoins Juno, which holds space for the future. On Tuesday, it's sunny and feeling believable. Step 15 indicates that Venus rules the day. Today, you'll be receiving an open heart and the ability to take things to your heart. You're also manifesting some powerful narrative changes. Story changes are emotionally narrated by the moon in Sagittarius. And Venus trines Mars, Venus trines Jupiter, and Mercury conjoins Chiron. All 6 planets in this equation are basically finding neutrality under the step number of net 6. On Wednesday, it's sunny and learning. Step 16 indicates Neptune rules the day, opening up the crown chakra to receive psychic information. And the information that you might receive is that the world is actually now changing. This is further supported by Jupiter stationing retrograde, which indicates learning has stopped down at the Grandmaster degree of Step 21. Juno also trines Jupiter, and Juno opposes Chiron, which brings a synergy energy to the major healing planets. On Thursday, it's sunny and responsible. Step 17 means that Saturn has taken over the day. Not only that, but the moon is in Capricorn, also one of Saturn's signs. So the I receive statement is a new commitment to the world and rewriting your vision for the future. And then on Friday, it's sunny and transforming. Step 18 means that Mars is the ruling planet of this day. You're going to be receiving action items and things you have to do as you witness the world is in fact changing. The moon moves from Capricorn into Aquarius, so you might end with a rebellious spirit, but bringing the cherry to the sundae for both the week and the year, Pluto stations direct at 6:31 p.m. Eastern.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Hello, friends. Well, please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Serious Joy TV. Hit the bell button so you're notified. And if you don't mind, please like this video right now so the YouTube algorithm will suggest us to other astrology fans. Tonight, Namaste TV Live is proudly sponsored by the Arcanimal Tarot and Oracle Deck certification by Bernadette King. If you don't know, you might be familiar with this deck. It's very popular. I think it's the most popular animal deck there is out there, a bestseller. But now she's giving certification courses, which is perfect. I can't tell you how many of our subscribers are looking for the right modality. Well, this is a way to get into the psychic reading business in a safe, grounded, and practical way using the animal kingdom as your guide. They are strategically placed here by heaven to help us give us signs and symbols. In this program, you will learn species communication with the animals. That's huge. I've seen her do this in person. It's amazing. You'll hone your psychic skills in practice. I honestly don't know of any class I would recommend other than Bernadette at this time. You'll also find inside tips and tricks to running your own spiritual business. And for the price that you pay, you just cannot beat this for the return you're going to get. We have a little commercial to roll, and we'll tell you how to sign up for this. And for serious joiners, $100 off. Adam, let's roll that commercial.
Wild Pack, it's Mama Bear, aka Bernadette, the Arcanimal Tarot and Oracle certification class that you guys have asked me for 4 years. 4 years you've been asking. It's finally coming. It will be out this week. If we haven't met yet, I'm Mama Bear, and I always read with my own deck, the Arcanimal Tarot and Oracle deck, 223-page book. There are 149 cards. It's a big old deck, but there were a lot of animals that wanted to be in it. And animals don't play. When they want something, they want it. And that's that. So just give up the ghost and just do what you're supposed to do, please, which is follow your heart, follow your calling, follow your, oh, wait, what are they called? Natural instincts? Ha ha!
Don't you love her personality? She's so much fun. She's been on the show twice now. And I think working with her is going to bring you into your talent. And we have a special deal. If you email us at Serious Joy with the hashtag ARK, A-R-K, in the subject line, you'll receive a discount for $100 off. We're going to email you a coupon code for $100 off. You just want to email that with subject line ARK to seriousjoy@gmail.com. seriousjoy@gmail.com. Tell me how it goes. Now, that said, we have so much to talk about, and we're trying to bring our show down to a livable time of consumption. So without further ado, let's move on to our planets and transits. Well, friends, it has been an intense moment. I don't know if you have felt it. I certainly did. It was an energetic pop, if you will. It was a solar eclipse, and it's the topic of our opening tonight because, for one, I think it's an excellent example of the power of astrology. You may already know, I'd love to see in the comments and in the chat tonight, how many people know somebody that sort of had a bit of a breakdown on or around that solar eclipse. And incidentally, a breakdown can happen up to 5 days prior and 5 days after the given eclipse or the event. And the way it works is, in this particular case, it apexed on Wednesday. It was at 2:49 p.m. In the afternoon. So some people on the planet did see the eclipse. And if you saw the eclipse with your naked eyes, you had the most energy delivered to you. So you took quite a big dose of that energy. The way I believe it works metaphysically is that it ultimately forces kind of a surgical removal of the heart, that's the sun being blocked, and replacing it with an emotional energy that's in the moon. And I talked about this last week, that the secret to it is really honoring your emotions and your feelings as it apexes. Now, it had to be quite powerful for Libras in particular, and Aries in particular, and Cancer and Capricorn probably because it squares. And so those points there were probably the most affected. But I have to say, I was really affected by it. I actually started to have breakdowns 4 or 5 days prior. And because it's Libra, it's actually the energy that leads to your relationship to everything on Earth. Now, if you're not familiar with the architecture of incarnation, which is my little buzzword for how spirit becomes flesh, and basically the subject of the main topic of my upcoming book, which I've been working on this year, it is this, that we as humans are sort of fractions of spirit, right? We come down to Earth and we incarnate, and we have the misconception that reality is real. And from what I understand, with everyone who channels, we're talking about even aliens and medium channels, I mean, across the board, everyone agrees in the spiritual world that this is not a reality. In fact, technically, you could say you are sleeping right now in what we call heaven, and you are dreaming this moment. Life is but a dream. But in that context, that also sets up for our magic and our potential, that this reality is, in fact, a reflection of our inner life. So imagine right now, if you could like buy a video game that was scanning your inner self and then projecting it around you in symbolic form, with characters that represent problems in your life, with events that represent weaknesses and strengths, where you are constantly being able to sort of challenge yourself because you're challenging your inner self in an outer world, in an inside out world, where you could literally channel and face issues with yourself in this 3D sort of game, right? It's not impossible to think of, but honestly, that's what the soul matrix is from what we understand. And the most important thing that I find that people do not understand is the idea that it comes down to the relationship of you to you. So the way you get the matrix, the soul matrix, this reality to get what you want to create, or to create what you want to get, I should say, is that you have to alter the way you respond to you. Because after all, this is a magical realm where you are seeing yourself projected into other people, situations, and events. And so if that's the case, it's a projection of your inner self, then a mastery of the inner self is what takes us there. That said, it looks like this entire year astrologically has been based and focused on mastering our inner self. It began in March when we began with Saturn to wrap up the first decan transit of Saturn in Pisces. That first wrap up was the conclusion of the universe introducing you and introducing me to all the karmic issues we have with ourselves. We spent the entire time from Pisces to Virgo, its opposite sign, working out those kinks, getting to the bottom of those karmic knots, digging up those fears and trying to fertilize our spiritual garden with love and with compassion. Then after we wrapped up Virgo, which is the I become state of awareness, where we become now this new version, the very next thing we did was focus now on what I call the mirage. The mirage is what I call the first 10 degrees of Libra. It's really the first 9 from 0 to 9. And that particular spot of consciousness, if you know astrology and you have an astrological chart, go pull that out right now, or go pull it out right after this show. Take a look at it. Where is the first 9 degrees of Libra in your chart? Believe it or not, that is the cockpit, so to speak, of the entire reality experience, because those degrees, those step numbers involve your relationship to the primary parts of yourself. And so one could argue with clear logic that if you improve the primary relationship to yourself, you'll improve the fidelity and the creation of everything in the outer world. So what happened was we had spent the first 10 days, working on in Libra, working on, addressing ourselves in the mirror, addressing our states of awareness, and trying to upgrade our relationship to ourselves to now exclude all the weird things we had done to distort our relationship to ourselves as a means of trying to get out of our karma and get out of our pain. All of us were born with this pain and this karma. Everyone on earth is severely damaged from the dark ages and even beyond with Atlantis falling and Lemuria falling, which is actually the land of Mu, to be honest, or what we understand it to be from this point. And so everyone, no matter who you are, has this, damage where, maybe you starved yourself in one life to get out of prison. And so you have the karma of, starving yourself and not taking food. Maybe you, maimed yourself trying to fight for some holy war. Maybe you broke your own heart by being kind to someone and basically not giving to yourself. I mean, there's a myriad of issues of what we would have had. But as we moved up to the eclipse, what I'm kind of giving the backstory here is you were called to maybe work that out of your system. Then we had the eclipse, boom, okay? And I found, like I said, things falling apart early and whatnot. And because Libra is the beginning, the mirage is the beginning, and it moves into our relationship to reality and our relationship to others, and then it moves into our relationship to the future, I found that unfinished business with myself had no tolerance from the world anymore. It's like anything I hadn't done with homework, anything that I hadn't finished, because I'm slow, y'all. I'm a Taurus, okay? I take my time, and I take too much time sometimes. And sometimes I guess I'm afraid to get started, or I feel like I need more information. So I not procrastinated, but not gone far enough. I'd also filled my plate with too much stuff. So when the eclipse hit, I had a ricochet of energy that rocked my world, then rocked every relationship I'm in the earth, and then rocked where my future was heading. It was a spiritual earthquake like I have never experienced before. Now, that said, I have Pluto at 1 degree Libra, so it hit my weakest spot, my weakest link. And so so I've come to realize, vulnerability of some can be less than others, depending on what's in that space. But I bring all this up because in case you missed it, in case you didn't know what the heck hit you upside the head this last week, it was that solar eclipse. And I have to put out a subtle warning that it's not over yet. We have one more aftershock coming this Saturday. I'll talk more about that. But first, the architecture. So the first 9 degrees of Libra are your mirage. And then what happened was we had an eclipse at 10 degrees. And 10 degrees is the degree that holds together all the bottom degrees. So basically, the soul divides into what we call decans. And each decan has a decan leader, which is a part of yourself that just rules a whole group of yourself. It's incredibly well organized, actually. Beyond belief is how brilliant and intelligent it is. When you get deeper into astrology, you just can't believe its intelligence inherent in it. So that solar eclipse said, okay, it's time for a new wrapper around this inner self. And that wrapper itself has an intention. The intention of step 10 is to be the foundation of the steps above it. Step 10 serves as the foundation. So what that means, if you haven't figured it out yet, is that your relationship to yourself is the foundation, according to the step system, of every relationship you have. Every relationship you have is a reflection of your relationship to yourself. That means if someone hurts you, it's because you earlier hurt yourself. That means if someone steals from you, that means you stole something from yourself. Maybe something your heart wanted, you let your mind get away with it and take something away from you. It means that if people are cruel to you, somewhere inside yourself, you're being cruel to yourself. Now, a lot of people have a hard time accepting this when they hear this, especially in readings and whatnot, because it does mean that, yes, it's officially all your fault. It is. It's a reality. It's a dream. You're incarnating. Of course, your bad dream is your creation. But the flip side of this that I don't feel like people really understand is so many people, especially this year with the South Node in Libra, we've been pulling away from old relationships as the South Node has moved, through Libra down to the degrees. Right now, the South Node is at 6 degrees Libra, which is the Grandmaster step of our mirage. So we are now finessing that step. But the good news of this architecture is, for all of you who have written me and begged for guidance about how to find the love of your life, how to overcome pain in relationships, people who want to be on the show with Josh and myself, numerologists, by the way, shout out to Josh. He's healing y'all, send him some good mojo. I had a little issue. Universe, I think, took him out for a second to sit down and think about something. But nonetheless, those shows that we've done have all been about human relationships, trying to be happy in human relationships. And no one knows the architecture. They're all blaming the other person or blaming themselves in the relationship and never looking at the mirage, all right? The mirage is the source of everything you incarnate, everything you law of attract. I talk about this because as we move into this next chapter here, moving in this next week, we now venture off. It's already begun, actually, as of today. We are, moving into a higher degrees. I think we have come out of, we've come out of the Mirage degree. We moved into the 11th degree. I'm not exactly sure where we are right now because it's at a wonky time. But what happens now is now we carry out this integrity of self to apply to our relationships in life. And I want to underscore, when I say relationships, it's everything. People tend to think only romance. Nope. This is your relationship to your family, which is going to be very intense because that's where the karma began. So I am particularly saying that this will be a heavy family transit. I've already had a lot of shift happen from my family. I'll tell you, they're texting right now as they watch this. Yeah, I just started a fight. No, I was kidding. But it's also your relationship to boss, your coworkers, your colleagues. It's your relationship to non-biological things like your relationship to chocolate, your relationship to sleep, your relationship to your bed. It's how you relate to everything in the spiritual soul matrix that we talk about. And in this next week, what you're going to be seeing is these parts of your life beginning to break down. Particularly, I'm just going to say this again, if you're a person that thinks the problem is the other person, or even if you think the problem is who you are in the relationship, you're up for a bit of a breakdown. Because the universe is not messing around, folks. I took this hit. It was difficult. It was one of the most difficult correction courses I've been given in life. Very humbling. But again, it hit my Pluto, so it hit my weakest spot. Nonetheless, I really want to just get across in your minds in this open that any relationship issue you have from this point forward to Scorpio, it may be presenting in your daily life. It may be presenting in your relationship to your boss, but it's about you. To look deeper into yourself and see, where do I have this pattern with myself? Where do I make this mistake with myself? And realize that the soul works in sort of in symbolism. It works in imagery. It works in sort of creative expressions of. So it's almost like if you have an issue with yourself with like eating, let's say, or eating enough or eating nutritious, the soul will create in the matrix a very creative version of that, one that is alluring, entertaining, and draws you in. And just witnessing that alone, when you really start to see how the spiritual world works here in our incarnation, you really start to turn your life into a movie because you have some issue and it's going to show up any moment. And when it does, it's always surprising. It's always something I wouldn't have thought. Every time I've tried to guess the way the universe is going to teach me, it taught me that I could never guess. Like, it seems to have a mind of its own. And so as you move through this next 10 days or this next decade, I feel like remember to keep your eye on your relationship to yourself. See your relationship to yourself as a clue of where the source of this energy came. And before you think about what to say to them, okay, or what to do with that, or how to handle that situation that you're relating to, first have a solution for the source. Where did this begin inside myself? Where do I have a similar pattern going on? And, instead of peanuts inside myself, it's calling myself bad names or whatever. But you'll see a clear theme from the inside out. And this is, what is above is also below kind of consciousness and thinking. So looking at the course of this week ahead, as we move to Friday and complete this week, and we complete the week I've already reported on, we end the week on step 12, which is where we are later today. We might be there now. Again, it's been changing at wonky times. And step 12 is literally where you end your own integrity, because your integrity is step 11. And then step 12 is when you step out into the unknown. And I should tell you that unknown is a feeling unknown. So in the next 24 hours, you are being encouraged to step out on an unknown limb. That could be something in relationships where you finally fess up and open up to someone. That would be the unknown. Or maybe you decide to apologize and heal a situation. That could be unknown. Whatever it is, I'll tell you the right way. If you want to make this go easier and quicker and suffer less, then deliberately steer yourself into the emotional unknown. The things that you are emotionally a little cautious of, the things that you always avoid. I mean, basically, the stuff you avoid is what you have to face. So if you have any confusion at all, go straight for what you have avoided. Go straight for the feelings that you're afraid of feeling. The step 12 is really about crafting that path, that story, because 12 nets to a 3, which means you're going to be able to craft this new story of where you're heading. And ideally, okay, to micro coach here and give you some micro coaching, the kind of coaching we give on SeriousJoy.com every day, is to really see your 2 choices of the feelings you will chase in the next 24 hours. Now, why is Sensei setting so much up about step 12? Because, my friend, we have a second wave of this spiritual earthquake 24 hours from the air date of this at step 13. That's right. I felt it psychically. I felt it the whole time. Honestly, I thought I was feeling the step 13 jolt when it was actually the eclipse that was so intense. But in this next 24 hours, we go from 12 into 13. Now, 12 is what my heart feels is true. That's what 12 is. What my heart feels is true. Notice that you have to be in touch with your heart to know how it feels. So what happens is people who are not in touch with their heart just follow what feels right. And so what feels right quite often is actually something to repair the ignored heart. So if you're not mindful of your heart and go, okay, heart, here I am. All right, heart, where do you want to go? Think of yourself like using this as a soul compass, let's say in a big clearance sale somewhere. And you're like, okay, I want to find the coolest things for the lowest prices. Where is it? Turn on the golden compass. What's the golden compass? Where does my heart feel the gold is? Where does my heart feel the joy is? All right. So if you take that approach of what my heart feels, then you will be guided to exactly what you are looking for. Promise. You have to try this and come back to me and tell me that I'm wrong. I won't believe it. And I won't believe that you applied the heart correctly. That's what I'll probably say. Because for me, when I've coached clients into this, 100%, they see within 30 days how they have been listening to their mind and not listening to their heart in that sort of expression. So there'll be 2 groups of people in the next 24 hours. Most of them will fall into this other category, which is that at step 12, you sort of feel curious. It gives you a sense of adventure. It makes you want to explore and do new things. Step 12 is when we want something new in our life. So you've always thought, ever sitting on the couch in the summer and just like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I just want something to do. Probably in step 12 right there. You're probably being wired to find your golden compass, to find what your heart is looking for. And because you're not applying the steps correctly, you don't find it. So for those who don't take their heart and feel with their heart where the action is or where the fun is, those people will probably just feel, all right? And when you just feel and don't include the heart, you're feeling an emotional field that is absent of the heart. You're feeling a field that is starved for attention, that's starved for love from yourself. And so you project those feelings onto outer world things, and we attempt to fill the void of the heart that we should be playing ourself inside of ourselves with whatever we're picking up on in our outer world. Well, you know what happens? You basically find yourself attracted to other empty hearts. And this, my friend, is how bad relationships happen. That basically your feelings lead you to empty relationships that let you down when you are not searching for the one using your heart in the first place. And so what will happen in the next 24 hours is there will be a breakthrough with step 13. And step 13 is what my heart believes in. And believing is what my heart feels. And so the breakdown is either going to be really harsh because you were not listening to your heart when you went out on that journey, or it's going to be really fascinating and blow your mind because you did. So with that premise set, let's talk about the planets this week. Get a little nano on the information. I don't know how we went from that to that, Diane. There was no middle, but we'll do it better next week. And let's first talk about the formation of where the planets are right now, starting with the Libra constellation. Up in Libra, we got a party going on in Libra, and it's not necessarily a good party because there's some shady characters there, namely the South Node and Black Moon Lilith. But over the course of this week, we go from step 12 to step 19. All right, 12 is what I just said, where you're stepping out onto new. 19, which is next Friday, when we're still live again at this time slot, we'll let you know when we change. You'll then be manifesting the new relationship approach. So in literally from now until next week, you will calculate the new relationship approach. But as I said, step 13, the next step after 12, is a doozy, because once you step off and you follow that belief, you're either going to have a breakdown or a breakthrough. The good news is if you break down, you will break through, but it's not fun to be there. just ask me over the last week. Now, at the same time, in the same space, we have Mercury, which just zips like a bat out of hell from 16 to 27 Libra. This is good and this is not good because the mind is racing ahead. And the mind races past, starts first the moon and just smokes the sun, just goes way in front of the sun and aims for Scorpio. What you need to be conscious of is that, in Libra, when Mercury's in Libra, it gets a little obsessed, it gets a little lost. It's almost like it needs a rope, it needs a boundary, it needs a leash. So watch where your mind goes. Be very careful. Again, everything is based on step 12 navigation. I'm seeing a lot of people get caught up in things, sold on an idea they can meet a person from a weird way, just, things that aren't really appropriate. The South Node in Libra at 6 is still saying, hey, you got to get rid of that old relationship to yourself. And Black Moon Lilith moves from step 10 to step 11. And the importance of that is that we are finally healing our fears as to whether or not our marriage will work out. And we're finally healing our fears about whether or not we'll ever be in good integrity with ourselves. So some people are behind on their lessons because there's a lot of fear here that's having to come up. And if you didn't do the work and you didn't follow through, it might hold you back just a little bit. Moving on to Aries, the opposite energy. Now in Aries, we got less of a party going on. The North Node is at 6, and that basically says to the way to your success, the way to your strength, the way to knowing who you are is to make your relationship to you the way. To make step 6, make your relationship to yourself the way you walk. So go places according to this will improve my relationship to myself. To make choices that will be like, oh, this will heal the issue with myself. If you take choices and move forward based on having a better relationship with yourself, you will in fact automatically be on the right path. Trust me, I've done that and wandered off the path many times myself. At the same time, we have good old Chiron, which has retrograded from 22 to 21. And this means in Aries that we're now ready to write a new story about our future. And the only thing I'll say to this point, to keep it kind of brief and keep us succinct tonight, is that the story you told yourself about how your character would turn out is wrong, according to the astrology. It's wrong. It hasn't been right for anyone that I have known who's shared it with me so far. Everyone I ask, hey, what's your character meant to become at the end of your life? It's all been based on their past life karma, their obstacles, their pain, the sickness they went through. Everyone's basing that story of the future based on the story of the past. So Chiron is there trying to help you rewrite that, to show you through different examples and adventures, because 21 is about sort of like field trips, to show you that that end story is part of the problem, that you can't keep ending the story with a bad ending or waiting for the shoe to drop. Then moving into Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini, actually, this is a big week. Jupiter has been just full steam ahead since it entered into Gemini in late May. I remember the feelings of it, actually, when it came, because it was right after Unite the Light and Jupiter went into Gemini. I just felt amazing because we were freed with Jupiter out of our own mental traps. We lock ourselves into certain thinking. We do it to appease others. We do it to feel safe. And every 12 years, Jupiter hits this spot and goes, okay, we got to work all these knots out. Your mind is way off track here. Nope, 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 nope. There's so much more to consider, is what Jupiter says. Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Well, did you know that Jupiter will station retrograde this week? And that means that there will be no more birdie in your ear, which has been happening since May, and people take it for granted. They think they're just really smart, and they come up with these amazing answers out of nowhere. It's not out of nowhere. It was Jupiter whispering the answer to you telepathically. With Jupiter stationing retrograde, this means that now there will be no outer whispering, and instead you will focus on your inner self and try to build communication with your inner self. I'll talk about this in the actual planets here. It happens on, I think, Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's Wednesday, exactly. Jupiter basically stations retrograde, and so it means our spiritual Wikipedia is offline. I hope you took notes, is what Jupiter is saying. Now, moving ahead to the next block of planets is the moon and its placements. The moon is moving into Scorpio, and so Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are going to be very secreted, tight to the chest. You might face some shadow inside of you, some feelings you've been afraid to face. This is all good and therapeutic. I highly recommend it. In fact, you want to know what your emotional limits are, because the moon will be in Scorpio on Sunday when we hit step 13. late Saturday night and then early Sunday. And so that breakdown, that breakthrough will be with the moon in Scorpio. So the good news is that we'll be less hurt because we're closed up. The bad news is we'll learn slower because we're closed up. Then the moon moves into Sagittarius late Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The importance of that is now our emotions turn into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They turn into our story rewriting, how we reframe our story, we reframe our character, reframe what our character does. So you're emotionally processing plot points on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when we go through step 15, 16, and 17. Then as we hit the head of the week, the middle of the week, the moon goes into Capricorn. And so what that tells you is, okay, we've been feeling through everything in Scorpio. We felt through our story options in Sag. We get to Capricorn, let's make some decisions. So use the energy to make decisions. If you have a major decision to make, such as to purchase a car, go to a college, turn down a great offer from a job, I would wait till the moon's in Capricorn, because that's when you have a real balance and clarity about what you will do and what you won't do and how it'll affect the bottom line. So try to put that off. You'll be inspired to make the call on Sag, but you'll feel the reality and the heaviness of what could go wrong in Capricorn. So Capricorn's always got their eye on the emergency exit. They're always waiting for, the goat to jump to another higher spot. And so they have built in this sort of radar of when to get out of there and when to commit. And I think you'll take advantage of that on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then late Friday, we finally go to the moon in Aquarius. This is, of course, the same evening of step 12 when we're, ultimately ready to cross over and ready to move into the next step. And with this energy, you ultimately will find that it's time to make the leap. That's this Friday. And it's time to, that's the following Friday. It's time to make the leap. You've already had the breakdown earlier in the week with Scorpio, and now you're ready to move and ascend to the higher level. So we go from breakdown at 13, new story, new decisions, and then, okay, I'm ascended, moving on. Moving on then to the Capricorn state of awareness, one must remember that Pluto is at step 29 Capricorn, and that is a doozy of a degree. Remember, the moon will cross through Capricorn in the middays of the week, and so that moon means that it will cross Pluto at 29. I am predicting a minor, aftershock. Like I said, there's an aftershock this Saturn day with step 13. Then there's another aftershock when the moon hits Pluto at 29. What it means is you'll probably have to let go of, basically the 29 is our ego responding to our feelings. And perhaps you haven't been responding to your feelings properly. And so probably you're overcompensating, abusing power, going too far with the power you have because you didn't simply turn within and remember that you are the generator of the spiritual matrix. So I am predicting some fallout this week, come midweek, when the moon is in the very final degrees of Capricorn. Then, of course, I want to talk about Cancer. This is also a doozy. Mars is our ego. Cancer is emotion. So ego is 9, Cancer is water, 2. So if Cancer is 2 and ego is 9, that means that Pluto is not the only instrument running 29. This entire transit of Mars in Cancer is running the 29th degree, pushing us to the limits. What this means is we are emotionally incredibly volatile right now. And I have to say, I have been, I'll trip over my mistakes and then I will make it worse with my anger that comes up at me, at myself. So in a way, this is a way to channel it to where you are saved, where you show up for yourself and you nurture yourself, or you could blow this opportunity and blow this anger and emotion out on someone else. Now, 17 to 20 does mean that you're trying to get your feelings to the point of emotionally being safe with abundance, emotionally being safe with rising above where you are. And so I think this week will be a lot of where the ego's in the way, where the ego's triggering your inner baby, ego's triggering your emotional self. And so it's confusing you. So remember, respond according to your emotional needs. Respond to the terrible 2-year-old inside of you, the terrible step 2-year-old. Coincidence? I don't feel so. Then, of course, we've got Scorpio. And Scorpio's got a doozy. Venus has moved into Scorpio. I don't know if you guys have felt the sexual vibe rise on the planet. I have felt it. And I thought, is this Kundalini? Like, what's going on? Like, do I have an issue? And it's like, oh, no, I got Venus in Scorpio. So Venus in Scorpio sort of opens us up for intimacy, opens up our boundaries. You could say Venus in Scorpio is the part of us that can get ourselves naked or talk someone else into getting naked too. It literally makes us feel naked and exposed because Venus opens up, shut down boundaries that we already have. This means that from step 15 to step 23, we are opening up shut down boundaries that keep us from changing our life and directing it in the right direction. Now, it's just the boundaries. The sun won't be here for a long time. That's when we can actually make the changes, when the sun arrives at this spot. But it does mean that the universe is asking you to get naked a lot sooner than when we show up to actually do whatever it is we're going to do naked, right? Which is vulnerable. It's a symbol for vulnerable, a symbol for being open and whatnot. This is also bringing up a lot of sexual damage. I have a lot of clients who have gone through sexual damage in their life as a child and other places, and it's all coming to the surface. I'm getting a strong response from my community that Venus is really ringing that bell. And people have asked me, do I have to deal with it now? And the answer is yes. These unresolved sexual issues are part of your marriage to yourself. That in your marriage to yourself, you ignored this part of yourself. You ignored the part of yourself that wants to ignore and wants to put it all away and just pretend it didn't happen. And so Venus is sort of, she seduces it back open again and puts it back on the table when you thought you'd stuffed it away in the closet and you would never deal with it again. So lots of stuff being forced out of the closet, secrets and things like that, just because you weren't handling it when it was in the closet. And so Venus is going, okay, let's put this on the table for negotiation. Then moving on to Pisces. Pisces is probably one of the biggest drives going on right now with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. And when I say right now, I'm talking about in the last 2 years, the biggest drive, because you have this double whammy of Neptune, which goes from 28 to 27. I'll talk about that in a moment, which is trying to basically download and install, it's like software, thoughtware, download and install the new spiritual timeline, the new spiritual operating system. But what's holding us up from a full download? It's Saturn, that we are getting a little stubborn, that we made certain decisions like, no, that's not going to happen and that's not going to ever happen. And you can cross your arms and say it's never going to happen. But if Neptune said, nope, it's on the docket here, you signed up for it up in heaven, this is what's going to happen, then you are calling in some major conflict to break down whatever it is that's holding you up in this false reality. I bring this up because Saturn does go from 14 to 13 this week, 13 being one of the most volatile degrees there is if you're in denial. So for those of you who watch over others and take care of people, whether you adopt, kids or pets or animals, once Saturn hits 13, that's when shift will really hit the fan. And I think that's where people will come to realize that this isn't a one of a bad party. This is a bad party period in my life. This is a bad family period in my life. And Saturn is asking, well, what does your heart believe it needs to be? Because what your heart believes is what your spirit actually signed up for. It's that mind that doesn't really understand because we don't program our minds correctly. All right. And then lastly, we have my favorite sign, Taurus, as I like to say. Uranus and Taurus, currently at step 26. It was at step 27 earlier in the beginning of this Libra transit. Now it's at step 27. What that means is that, it was 27, that's 26. Getting my words tangled here. I've been on the air all day, by the way, doing different things. What it means is that we should not build it until the peace comes. So you guys remember that movie, If You Build It, They Will Come? This is more like, don't build it unless the peace is already here. Don't build it unless you feel totally tranquil about it. So the message coming from Uranus and Taurus is hold off until you feel really at peace and you have no little crime, no little worry, no little anything bubble up when you think about building the house or building the computer system or building the business. If you have no worry in the world and your heart is open, you're excited, you have achieved the step 26-ness, whatever that is. If you haven't, I got to tell you, because it's Uranus, the ruler of 13, the ruler of 4, you cross Uranus, you will find yourself on the floor, basically, because it doesn't really mess around. It just knocks you down, makes you wonder, why did I get knocked down? Because you were not operating according to the principles of the energy. You're trying to build something when Uranus is saying, no, we're stopping down all building until you have that calm peace with yourself, which is what 26 is. When you feel your heart open, feel your heart open. So, in essence, with the planets, to kind of wrap it up here, this is a time where it's all about mastering the relationship with yourself, moving out in the world, crossing that bridge, as I talked about. That bridge is, does it feel right? Does my heart feel it's right? Versus, it feels right. Did you ask your heart? What heart? Okay. If you go down that path, you're going to have a harder fall. But as we move through the week, that breakthrough turns into a greater breakthrough with relationships. And for that reason, I think it's time to talk about you, friend. Go steep yourself some tea and let's have our tea time. All right, welcome to tea time, our horoscope portion of the show. I guess this is a good time to remind everyone that we will be moving and changing and shaking up our show. So many exciting things, and I want to let it all out. We will still broadcast on Fridays, but we'll also be picking up another day of the week. I'll just say that. So don't start getting yourself busy on Fridays. You will not want to miss Fridays still. But Namaste Today Live is going to be rebranded and repurposed for the new era. So I'm excited. This old girl started in, I think, 2013. I started this show. Yeah, started the show in 2013, right? Holy shift. That's a lot, right? So it's time for a makeover, and we'll be doing that. Stay tuned for this for the details. And if you want to be on the inside of how we work, come to seriousjoy.com and sign up, because then you'll learn what's really happening at the deepest level. So what's happening now is I want to do some horoscopes for all 12 signs. This segment in the future is going to be called Soul Horoscopes, by the way. I'm going back to my original brand that I started with 18 years ago when it was Soul Garden. I had Soul Horoscopes. And this is going to be your horoscope where we get to the soul of what's going on versus other astrologers that focus maybe on all the outer planets and all the outer aspects. I've had people that ask me, why don't you talk about aspects and all these other things like the other astrologers do? And I say, because I have the intention of you changing your life within the first couple of episodes. I'm getting straight to the heart of the matter. Yeah, we can talk about the traffic going on in outer space for a while, but that's not going to change your life. What's going to change your life is to understand how that traffic comes down to you changing how you operate on the inside. You have the keys to make anything happen in your life. And at Serious Joy, we want to help you learn that system. So in today's horoscopes, whoa, God, time is flying. I swear to God, I'm going through time warps, y'all. I can't believe it. It's literally climbing. My team is like telling me the total running time. It's like already 7 hours. That's what it feels like. So this week, what we're talking about is like 4 categories. One, what does the sun in Libra bring for you next? So these next degrees, what will the sun in Libra bring for you? How will you move up from step 12 to step 19? What will it mean as far as step, what did that mean? And then what is it going to mean when we hit step 13 and beyond? How you then explore the teen degrees and you explore the things that may go wrong and may not happen, all right? We're also going to talk about the fact that Earth is in Aries. And so as you are committing to this new 19, this new way of manifesting relationships at large, you are manifesting new behavior. You can't manifest a relationship and change it if you're not going to change the way you act in the relationship. So much of the power is really about you stopping the bad behavior and starting the good behavior. That simple. I'll say for all 12 signs what that means. Then, of course, Jupiter retrogrades. And this is something I don't think I said in the last segment, so I'll say it now. We have Jupiter retrograding on Thursday, which is going to pull that energy away and no longer feed you secret answers in your ear. And then we have Pluto direct that happens. And that happens on this coming, let's see exactly, on Friday. That's right, Friday. So Thursday, Friday, it's a 1-2 punch. Thursday, God's like, give me that Jupiter. You're going to have to go without it. And then on Friday, God's like, okay, now face all your karma. Pluto direct. I'm painting a nice picture of God, am I not? So it is sort of a 1-2, and that happens on step 18 and 19. So yes, right when you're about to launch the new relationship, you will be challenged. The rug will be pulled out by losing Jupiter, and Pluto will go into full force saying, it must now be enforced, these new boundaries. So as always, I will talk about Aries first, and I'll put the sign right here of what I'm talking about. And then we'll go through the signs and move along, starting with the Aries. Aries, the purebreds of the zodiac, are focusing on relationships, quite simply. So it's everything I've talked about tonight. I hate to give you a slow reading, or a small reading, but you've already heard it the entire time. You are the purebred of the zodiac. You're always living the cutting edge of what's happening in the planets. And what's happening for you is renegotiations on all relationships. When Jupiter pulls away in the Gemini part, you may find that you suddenly are not very articulate, and that's going to be difficult to communicate and express yourself. When Pluto goes direct, you're going to find some other things too. We'll talk more about that. So relationships is where it's at, and that's relationships to anything material or non-material. The Earth in Aries, your sign, says that this is your time. You've learned plenty enough. You know exactly what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and time is up. The universe wants you to change your behavior and change your personality, period. And don't forget that the way you respond to somebody is far more important than initiating something. We've been misled to think that initiation is all of what it's about. It's not. It's really about the responses as you go higher up in the degrees. Then Jupiter retrograde for you means that your learning pauses when it comes to expanding your mind. Jupiter's been expanding your mind for some time now since it went into Gemini. And so you have been more open-minded than usual. Now that's been a gift. Once you see Jupiter atrophy back and retrograde back, you'll suddenly find yourself starting to fall into that closed-minded thinking. And it's up to you now with Jupiter retrograde to keep your mind open to unlimited possibilities. And then finally, Pluto direct at 29 for the Aries means that this is the final lap between now and November of your career tests. You'll be tested as a father, as a mother, as a parent, tested as a leader, tested as a follower, tested in all the places you might have cheated in the past, cheated when it came to, skipping steps or whatnot. Basically, if you don't keep your emotions cool, you may go too far and end up destroying something in your career legacy that you did not want to destroy. So it is extra careful behavior around career and legacy, starting with Pluto direct. All right. Now on to Taurus. Taurus, this is what's happening to me. I'll tell you right now. Basically, the connection of last week with the eclipse was you and your health, like staying in touch with your health. Now, I, of course, slipped into my work too much, eat too little, sleep too little. This is my classic issue with myself. I start robbing Chris to pay everybody. And so, yes, I slipped on a banana peel, and it moves this week into your daily work relationships and your routine. So I found myself as a disruptor in my organization because I had not focused on being solid in myself. And I was ahead of the game, so I can sit here and tell you the war stories, but it is coming up. Be careful. If you know that you're doing something you shouldn't do, as far as your overall well-being, knowing is half the battle, but following through and doing something is the rest. So just putting that out there. Now with Aries, it means that you are now developing and manifesting greater psychic ability, greater connection to your spiritual self, greater connection to your higher self is happening right now, probably because you're clearing the mess and the noise out of your daily life. And so it's just a literal logic. You get quiet with yourself and connect yourself. You get connected to your higher self. Jupiter retrograding for Taurus has to do with actually your money issues. I see I put this in here incorrectly, so I'm going to have to do this by memory. So it means that you have been racing ahead for revenue streams, racing ahead to create value, racing ahead to maybe build a nest egg of extra savings. Yes, you're going to be lucky when it comes to manifesting money when Jupiter goes direct, but you've got a lot of reconsidering to do, and you have to make sure that your priorities are aligned with your profitability, and that's going to be the retrograde for you. But there's a new story, basically, with Jupiter at 21 retrograde. And then finally with Pluto, this is a time for Tauruses to really listen to their subtle little feelings and to skip past the things they don't feel and to focus on the things they do feel when it comes to life purpose. What is the meaning of life? What brings me meaning and purpose in life? Now the universe wants you to hear a very subtle emotional cry and not the big, waves of goosebumps. So now that Pluto's direct, you better listen to your feelings. Even the most subtle warning, I would not pass over it. I would take it seriously because you can steer off your course quite easily. Let's get a drink of water. Gemini. Gemini, in this state, you are being called to expand and to innovate love and creativity. So Geminis are going to fall in love, and it's not going to be an idea or a word. In fact, it could be with someone that doesn't speak the same language because God Universe is trying to get Geminis to stop living just in the mind. It's 1/12 of your soul, and you're living in all of it. You moved everything into your mind. You've lived there and stayed there your entire life. So Geminis are getting evicted out of the mind, believe it or not. But first, God's going to give you a nice golden parachute, which is to connect to your heart and connect to your creativity. So this is about your relationship to creativity, your relationship, to the guitar if you're an artist, your relationship to the brush if you're a painter, your relationship to the teacher if you're in some sort of an art school. And so it's expanding that love and creativity outside the normal neural networks that you have. With the Earth in Aries at the same time, that means that you're going to manifest now a new place in the world, because the place in the world is always determined by the activities of the heart. So if you've been in your mind the whole time, there's no way you figured out where you belong in the world. because it comes from the heart. It's the heart that wishes, not the mind. So, expect your heart to be able to open up more, and expect you to start to see things in the world that you want, see places that you want to go, see things in the world that you want, all because you've expanded that heart. Now, moving on to the Jupiter retrograde. Interesting how I misdid this. The Jupiter retrograde is in your ego. So you have been unnaturally confident for the last few months since your birthday period. That confidence you're feeling is Jupiter, okay? It might be a false sense of confidence. It is your ego feeling empowered. It's God universe saying, yep, this is how strong you could be if you kept Jupiter, but you're not. And so Jupiter's going to retrograde and leave you to stand on your own 2 feet. Geminis do show one of the highest promise for at least one minor breakdown, because they have ignored their true heart in what they do and what they don't do, and their mind has set them up to get them in little corners that they're gonna have to get out of, probably through a minor crisis or a gray night of the soul, so to speak. Now, that said, the retrograde takes away the ego, and then we have Pluto direct. Pluto direct is also no joke, Gemini. The universe is saying you've got to draw boundaries and transform your life. You've got to define the boundaries by your feelings, not your mind, and we go forward. As of Friday, we go forward. You will get in the pool. You will get undressed. You will transform your life. You have no choice. Pluto is do what I say, or you're off Earth. Like, it's basically the great bouncer of the planet. And I've seen many relationships and many people where they did not listen, and they had an 8th house transit, and sure enough, it was a tragedy. I'm not trying to make you fear. I'm just trying to share with you, it's no joke. Pluto does not mess around in its own house. That's the 8th house. It will not mess around. There is no room for mercy. Listen to your feelings and transform your life. Gosh golly. All right, moving on to Cancer. Cancer, you are ultimately in Libra, actually being forced to focus on what you do best, but maybe not, which is the way you nurture yourself. So your mirror had to do with, how do you nurture yourself when you get upset? Do you get upset then, or do you go back to you and cradle the baby? What's more priority, your own feelings or the world's feelings? And we all know the answer. You put the world's feelings before your own. That's how you got caught in these codependent relationships. So the universe is saying, hey, that's got to end now. It's time for you to nurture yourself. And it's time for you to build a life where you are emotionally nurtured. Yes, I know you know how to, but the planets are saying you have not been doing it to the best of your potential and ability. Now, what's cool about that is once you get those feelings in order, then we go to the flip side of this energy, which is the Aries. And at that point, you are manifesting a real strong path going forward. So if you're a Cancer that's been lost, not know what to do, it's because you haven't been in touch with your feelings. And so as a result, you haven't known the direction you want to go. It's that simple. The more you pay attention, journal or whatever, the faster you'll find yourself on that path. Now, that said, we have Jupiter retrograding in Gemini. And what this has been doing is unnaturally inflating your faith in life. So Cancers and Cancer risings have had a false sense of security, a false sense of inner faith, with Jupiter blowing up their 12th. And so when Jupiter retrogrades, it will now be up to you to keep the demons away and the fear away. I hope you learned what Jupiter told you, but remember, don't forget, this is an illusion. We're sleeping heaven right now. It'll be okay. It's just a symbol of what you're facing. And then lastly, of course, Pluto at 29. Well, this is the last straw, Cancers, when it comes to being in the wrong relationship. How do you know you're in the wrong relationship? Because you feel it. You feel you're in the wrong relationship. It's an emotion. You rule feelings. Of course, God's going to tell you in an emotion, not through an email, not from finding that he's been cheating and texting on his phone. All that stuff is a waste of time as far as you're concerned. You will feel it, and it's time for you to trust your feelings. That's what the energy of Libra is really saying. So between now and November, you're on final notice. Do not do the old relationship thing again. It will turn into something scary, I think, if you do. So be careful, Cancers. All right. Moving on to the next sign. Need a drink? Leos. My Leos. Leos, your karma was with the way you talk to yourself, or the way you refuse to talk to yourself. Like, you're not even looking at this problem. You're not even examining this problem. Solar eclipse said you need to wake up. It was a wake-up call for Leos and Leo risings. Like, wake up. You're not paying attention to stuff in your mind. So after the eclipse, you sort of learned, okay, this is what integrity of mind is. I need to listen to my thoughts. I need to wire them with my heart. And so now as we go forward in this next period, it's about your relationship to ideas and communication, and how you relate and how you listen. So you're basically remodifying the midsection of your mind so that you can come to some profound conclusions. But it starts with how you think of yourself, how you think of life, and then it goes to the profound. All right. Now, that is great because Leos can get soft on themselves. Their mind can beat them up. They're far worse critics to themselves than the world ever is to them, even though they're afraid of world criticism. But the Earth in Aries says your life purpose is not quite clear because you're not quite clear on what you think. And so we can't get purpose down if we don't know what we think moment to moment. So over this next week, as you are clearing up your mind, you're going to get sharper and sharper and sharper about what it is you believe and what your purpose is going to be next. And I think you want to take that to the bank because it's going to be something very fulfilling and rewarding because Aries is a fire sign. It's going to fire you up. You just need to go for it and do what you have to do. Now, as I mentioned, Jupiter retrograding having an effect on everyone. For you, actually, Your Majesty, it's going to be that you take a small, quiet break from your role in society. And I've thought about this because I have a Leo rising, so I'm like, what does this mean? But even I'm going to pull back a little bit. I've been putting so much out there to help the world. Now these planets are retrograding and Pluto's going to, go and sick the bad guys. I can relax a little bit too. So take that as a reminder. You were supposed to explore with Jupiter and Gemini direct, and now it's time with Jupiter retrograde to take a break, see what sort of feedback you get, see what the press wrote, see what the critics wrote, and go from there. And that's about 6 months where you reintegrate where your real place is in society. The last point, of course, with Pluto is saying to Leos and Leo risings, I'm sorry, but you've got to get your lifestyle in order. There's somewhere in your life where you're cheating to make yourself feel better the easy way. That's it. You're cheating. You're like jumping to the end and pretending like you're the winner, or you're eating poor food because it's fast and it's convenient, or you're not giving yourself exercise, something that full better, But Pluto at this spot says, you're out of time, Your Majesty. You've got to move forward with what you know is healthy. Listen to your feelings. Should I take this? Should I take that? Leos come to me. They ask all the questions. Should I do this? I'm like, listen to your feelings. Your feelings will tell you. Get an icky feeling or get a good feeling. You have to learn that emotional litmus test. So be careful. This is in a house where people can manifest accidents or injuries, and we don't want that to happen to you. All right. Moving on to the Virgos. All right. Virgos, their Libra energy has to do with their self-worth and income and manifestation. So the eclipse for them was a wake-up call, like, stop calling yourself worthless. Stop it. You have the price ticket. Just price yourself the way you want to price yourself. And Virgos are like, you can do that? And you're just like, yeah, everyone's been doing it. You're the only one that cares about these things. So Virgo is now realizing, like, oh, well, I'm just going to give myself better credit. And I'm just going to, take what I deserve. And at that point, once you're empowered, it's like, boom, boom, boom. There's going to be all this marking up of prices, right? So you're basically going to be realizing that your relationship to commerce, money, everything has been throwing yourself under the bus. If you had problems with money, you set it up by echoing the self-worth issue into the money issue. So the good news is, yes, you can completely come out of this. The bad news is you've got to face your self-esteem issues and really patch that up if you want this to move forward in the way that's meaningful and provides a meaningful change in your life. Now, looking at Jupiter retrograde for Virgos, this is really about, Gemini for you is your career, your legacy, your decisions. So career is on hold right now. Legacy is on hold. The father of your children is on hold because it's the patriarchal house, the 10th house. So male, power figures. All that karma is on hold. You got to kind of back up now, look at the plans, look to see if you skipped over something, look to see if you did not take advantage of an offer that came, which is very common for Virgos because they get sort of stuck in should I, and then the thing is gone. But you're not going to have that extra lucky help with career, and you're probably tired anyways. When I had this in 10th house last year in Jupiter retrograde, I was like, thank God, I need a break. I've been racing on this treadmill forever. Now, the Pluto and Capricorn issue hits you in a very sensitive spot. It is the final test of whether or not you will make space for your true love. And Virgos are reluctant to make the space. It's because you're back and forth about whether you deserve it. It's because you're disconnected from your heart. And if you were listening to your inner child, you know 100% that the answer is a no-brainer, that yes, you must make space for your heart to have all of its dreams come true. And here's the hard part for Virgo too. Why me? Why am I so special? Because you're ready. That's how the universe works. It's not based on merits and that type of thing. God, universe bases it on readiness. So if you've made it to our show right here, you're ready. Now it's time to apply. So Virgos are really at the last stitch, like if you don't get this true love thing with yourself, the universe is not going to help you with true love anymore for a long time. It's all going to be about health. It's all going to be about health lifestyle. So jump on that, Virgo, and tell me how it went for you. All right, moving on to our key sign here, the sign of the current transit. Libras. Libras, this is in the house of ego. The wake-up call with the eclipse was snap out of it. Stop treating yourself so badly. The universe is saying you've got bad habits with yourself that brings yourself down. You are worse to yourself than anyone in the world could ever be with the Libra conscious. They've been, fair to others and not fair to themselves. It's that simple. So the wake-up call is you can't do that anymore. Sorry, we don't have room on the planet for people to do that, especially Libras. You're supposed to be fair and balanced. You're not fair to yourself, yada, yada, yada. And so now that you have that ultimatum of, okay, I've got to treat myself right. I got to do this. I got to brush my teeth. I got to do all these things for myself. You then now move into the next spectrum of ego, which is behavior, the ability to perform or not perform, the ability to put yourself out there. So for this next week or so, you are putting yourself out there, trying this activity, trying that activity, seeing whether or not you fit in with the gang, seeing whether or not you work well with the team, and really just trying to get your motors moving and going forward without sabotaging yourself. Again, if you don't love yourself and treat yourself that way, your next teen degrees will be that self-sabotage, guaranteed. Now, Aries, of course, is relationships. And of course, if you, with Chiron in Aries and the Earth in Aries, if you treat yourself poorly, then you're going to have relationships treat you poorly. And that, my friend, is how it all works. I explained it in the first beginning of this. If you are the walking example of treat yourself poorly and get bad relationships, period. Of which you then try to, go even further to save the relationship, bring yourself even further from your core. Remember, we're always meant to be a piece of our outer self or our opposite self. And Libras are meant to be more Aries-like, and Aries are meant to be more calm and Libra-like. And this is the point where we sort of mix those energies together. Now, when it comes to Jupiter retrograding, this has to do with Libras to their belief structure. I had to do the math there in my head. You've been really on this learning path. The universe has been showing you the right book, the right movie, the right this, the right that, introducing you to all the stuff you need to know. But now that Jupiter's retrograde, it's like, oh, sorry, librarian's gone. Figure it out yourself. So you're going to have to figure out what you believe in and what you don't believe in without the aid of Jupiter bringing the good luck. So yes, pack the book, bring your laptop, like anything you can to find out the information, because there will be probably a little scary spot where you realize how hard it really is to do this sort of thing, and that you have been having help the whole time to learn beyond your normal learning zone. And then Pluto at 29, it says to the Librans, okay, you're going to be tested now on your ability to stay calm and stay grounded in chaos, okay? And you go, why chaos? Well, you can't really get a Grandmaster 29 unless it is chaos. Like, you signed up for it. You want a thorough transformation of your emotional field. And so with Pluto 29, it means your emotions will be tested left and right about all sorts of things. If you don't respond directly to your feelings and you try to respond by healing someone else to heal you, that old Libra trick, it's going to crash and it's going to burn, and you'll see for yourself. The universe is not letting Libras have power anymore by ignoring their feelings for other people. That's just one thing that I think I see. We can go on and on. Scorpios. Scorpios, you are actually, this is very interesting. The first 10 degrees, what had to do with faith with yourself. So I have a lot of Scorpio friends, and they sort of had to throw up like what they were really afraid of. And I say throw up because you've been so good at stuffing it down. Scorpios rule boundaries. They can keep things from going one place to another, including keeping intel from themselves. So they can literally keep themselves from seeing the truth. So that was a breakdown. Like, here's your truth. The universe is just like saying, don't deny anymore. But now that you know your truth about yourself, and you know whether or not you're really going to go to hell or whether or not you're really in trouble with God, now you start to explore in this second decade of like, okay, so what else you got for me, God? Like, what else is there? What other connections can I create? So you'll be developing your psychic ability and your spirituality this week. And I'm hoping that by the end of the week, Scorpios and Scorpio risings have found some sort of new trick or new voice inside of them to, do tricks, right? Do these spiritual tricks on stage. Now, the Earth in Aries says that you have to really be conscious now of your daily life and work. You've got to manifest a life that doesn't take you out of bounds. You got to manifest a health regimen that doesn't overrun you, overwork you. You got to, work with people that are healthy and they're together. They're not pulling you out of your comfort zone. And with Chiron there at 21, I know you thought life would be hell, but you're wrong. It's not going to be. That's not the outcome. You were projecting the old life onto the new life. So good news is we know how the test turns out. Everyone passes, but you've got to try for you to be able to pass, basically. And then Capricorn for you and 29 Pluto ultimately has to do with your attitude and your thinking. So you have let your mind get carried away. You've let your feelings carry your mind away. You've let your feelings fuel the fire of your mind, and then your mind overcompensates and overdominates. And so God has had enough. If you can't keep your feelings in check in your head, it's going to get you in trouble somehow. It's going to disappoint someone. It's going to reveal something. You're going to say something that goes too far, and boom, you're going to have yourself a big fire to deal with. So it's your planet, Pluto. You know full well the consequences of not listening to Pluto if you were alive in the 80s. I wouldn't mess with it. I would actually listen and keep your emotional tone in your mind to a calm. All right. Sagittariuses. Sagittarius, you have been realizing in the first part of this where you belong inside yourself. Like, I want to be the one in the on the dance floor. I want to be the one who, is asked to be married. I want to be the one who ends up on the reality show. So you've been realizing where you want to be. Now, when we move to the second chapter of Libra, it's about how I want to interact with society. I want to be this in society, and I want to interact this way. I want to have this relationship with the world. I want to, run the fast food window. I want to be the one who's selling the old stuff on the couch in front of the garage sale. Like, where do you want to be? Where do you feel you want to be? That's the real question, Sag. And that feeling, I think, is going to take you to your soul assignment. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I do think that Sages are being introduced now to the new assignment from Spirit and from higher self. And so you have to know where you want to be and then try to be able to kind of pick up where you actually belong. You got to actually experiment with it. You can't be just theoretical Sag like you often tend to be. Now, that said, we have, of course, Jupiter retrograde. And for you, Sagittarius, this is in regard to long-term relationships. Your LTRs, your long-term relationships, have been going super well because Jupiter has been bringing the right place at the right time. And basically, Jupiter has been showing you, here's how the right way to do it is with your friends and family and relationships. This is the right way. But Jupiter now retrograde and says, okay, you've learned everything. Let's see how you do. And so you'll find yourself maybe stumbling for answers on the right way to respond, the right words to use, that sort of thing. Sort of more of a shallow brain that just can't handle it all, compared to your normal super brain, because it's not the knowledge. It's that you haven't started practicing and applying the knowledge to relationships. So you got the Jupiter knowledge, you're not applying it, says the planets. And then lastly for you, it's time with Pluto, that it's time for you to figure out once and for all, what do you want to make, Sag? I've seen Sages be offered, lots of money, turn it down, little money, pick it up. When it comes to money and manifestation, it's almost like you're like, it's beneath me. I don't want to play that game. You can't get off the earth not playing the game. Sorry, you signed up. It's till the end. If that's eternity, that's eternity. So really, just go out there and decide, I'm going to make this much money, and just keep your feelings focused on that track. Keep your feelings focused on remaining humble. If you want to remain humble, you don't have to be arrogant to make money. That's kind of a myth. But don't sit and not do it. Don't sit and not be productive. It's one of those things where I'm a little, worried for the Sages because this is the one area where you tell them to go make something and they'll tell you where to go, right? So they're being told you got to make something from God universe, and they might be a little bitter about it or unhappy, but here's the thing. It's going to lead to wealth and abundance. So come on, said the Taurus, we can do it. Now, that is the final of Pluto. Yep, we did this. So we're on to Capricorn. Capricorns, first of all, Libra for you is how you make decisions for yourself. So it's the first 10 degrees that we did with the eclipse. And so it was revealed to you that when you make a decision for yourself, you leave some part of yourself out of it. And most likely what you leave out of it is your emotions, which are the part of you that will tell you if you're about to make a mistake. So if you don't include your whiny emotions that are always crying all the time in that boardroom, you're going to find that you make decisions that the board regrets, that you regret, and that turn into a mess, right? Steering you off of course. So once you get this good side of you to know all the parts of yourself that must be involved in a decision for yourself, then you start moving into this next chapter where you start really making some decisions for the future. So I think Capricorns will be one of the happiest signs today, knowing that they're being put on their pure joy and they're doing it with, someone's also included the wheels to get there. Now, moving forward with that concept, you are being led to your success, but the Earth in Aries says you've got to manifest emotional foundation. You've got to have a home and family. You can only grow your soul garden as tall as your emotional flower or your potting soil. So you're being called to widen your emotional awareness, ground yourself, nurture yourself, stay in better touch with your feelings, and if possible, in better touch with your family. I know it's hit and miss with people and their family. Now, the Jupiter retrograde for you is happening actually in daily life. You've been getting a lot of extra energy to go to work, get things done, dot the I's, cross the T's, a lot of energy to just make things happen in daily life. Now that Jupiter retrograde, I think this will be the heaviest symptom that you have. Like Capricorns are going to get tired. You're just not going to feel like moving. You've been high off of Jupiter the whole time. Realize it. You're not a junkie, but you've been high. And now that Jupiter retrograde, suddenly, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do first. I don't know if I should work on this or work on that. So you have to step in and provide the beliefs for your consciousness. They will not provide it for you at this stage. And then, of course, we have the idea of Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn. And this is an amazing moment. So you spent 15 years trying to change your ego because God Universe said, sorry, we cannot keep these Capricorns with this ego around anymore. They're being discontinued. We need a new version of the ego for Capricorns. After all, they rule so much of the business. And so they have to have a good head on their shoulders and they have to have a good consciousness in their character. Well, this is the final test, actually, between now and, the leg of this journey for you to get it right with yourself, to respond to yourself first, 29, to respond to your feelings before you act out, before you say something you'll regret, before you pick on someone smaller than you. And yes, Capricorns are the sign that will pick on people smaller than them. I've seen it all the time. I'm not saying every Capricorn is like this, by the way, but I am going to start pointing out where there is shadow and where we need to start looking for shadow. That's one of the things you see. But the good news is you can win this, Capricorn. You can totally come out an A player if you just incorporate every action by checking in with your feelings. If you check your feelings before you act, I guarantee you'll be at a hotel like this teaching in your own way, or in a place like this teaching in your own way. I guarantee it. So don't give up on it. Go for it. All right. Aquarius. Aquarius, you are now, okay. So the first part of this decan was you getting back in touch with believing in yourself. And I think to some degree, Aquarius is, they believed it, but they just couldn't believe it. I think it's because you're stepping out into the leader and the thought leader now. So before you had to be status quo, and believing yourself status quo was good enough because you knew you had cool powers, but you didn't have to use them. So you were good. Now the universe is like, okay, we're ready for the lightning to come out of your hands. We're ready to see people astral project places. We're ready to see you like do some magic. And now I think the Aquas are like, oh no, I don't know if I believe in myself for this. So I think the eclipse is like, you have to believe in yourself. And now that you believe in yourself at a core level, it's now time to believe in life altogether. Believe in what's possible. Believe in what your heart tells you. Believe in the abstract things that other people won't believe in. It's time to put your money where your mouth is and begin to extend your belief and put energy behind your belief. When it comes to belief, you have to follow it up with an action to really prove to the universe that you truly believe. So you are moving forward with actual believing. And what moves forward is when we go into Aries, the Earth in Aries, it means that to believe, you're going to have to clean up your logic. You're going to have to clean up your mind going rogue, your mind going different directions, your mind going a million miles a minute, like my mouth. You're going to have to really get your thoughts and your communication in order. And so the Earth in Aries says, get your thoughts in order so that you can be clear of what you believe is true, or you can be clear that what you believe is just a mind game. So a lot of manifestation of a new mindset, a new way of thinking, etc. Now, as we move on to Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, we realize that for Aquariuses, this comes down to personal dreams and what your heart really wants. So you are being called to fall in love right now. And the universe has been pushing all the love buttons. And I've seen Aquariuses even hug people and stay hugging and like stay connected and sort of like hang out after work to see if you can talk. Like they're coming out of their shy. The inner child's coming out and poking out from behind the couch. And that's been Jupiter. It's been giving you liquid courage. It's been helping you do these things that you didn't normally feel like you could do. But that's over now. Now Jupiter is going to retrograde. And as a result, you're going to have that support pulling out, and your heart's either going to stay open because you've decided to keep it open, or your heart's going to begin to atrophy and go back into that coma. And it's probably 50-50 as far as where some aquas will go back in and realize they shouldn't have, and some aquas will stay out and they'll realize they should have gone back in for a minute. So there is no right answer per se, but overall you want your heart out on your sleeve, and you want to be attracting love based on your terms. That's where we're going, and that's what Jupiter will bring you when it goes direct. Now, the last point, Aquarius, is very important. It has to do with your faith in God. So Pluto 29 hits Aquariuses when it comes to their faith in God, which means that you're on again, off again when it comes to God. Like there's days when you believe, there's days you don't. There's days when you're totally on board and you're singing the hymns, and there's days where you're thinking, this is all crazy. And so you don't have to adopt any of the God versions that you've heard, even from me, but you need one. You need something bigger than yourself and higher than yourself that you surrender your feelings to, that you give it to God. That's the issue. Aquariuses have not been giving it to God. They've been trying to show God that they can handle it. They're trying to play tough guys and tough girls. And that Pluto is saying, no, you're not going to operate differently on this planet than everyone else. You either give it to God or you don't. Pluto says black and white. So many tests of faith coming for Aquas based on whether they're able to give it or not give it, on stage, so to speak. And that means from the faith of God onto their world. By the way, one last thing, Aqua, Pluto goes into your sign in November. And so that's it. Get your faith in order now, because the age of Aquarius, oh dear, that happened. I stomped on my thing. This is our old camera. The age of Aquarius depends on you. And so if you and God aren't good, or you're not connected, or you can't reach up there and grab what you need for faith, you're going to have a hard time doing your magic and coming into your powers, is what I'm saying. Note to self, don't bang the desk. And then finally, Pisces. Pisces, you are in this first chapter working on your boundaries with yourself. You're back and forth, back and forth. Where's the line? Where's the line? Should I, live up to the line? Should I move the line? That's been always the case with Pisces, which frankly is why you've been so annoying sometimes, because you don't stick to what you said you were going to do. And you change the rules before I even hear about what the first rules were. So hopefully you stabilize the lines with yourself. Like, these are my rules. I'm not crossing my lines. Boom. Like, you did that. Now in the second decan, it's time to go, okay, well then where are all the other lines with people, places, things, chocolate, substances? Now you're going to look at all the lines that create problems in your life. Codependence, addiction, some of the cliches that we get from Pisces are all those things. And so you will work out where all the lines are messy and find exactly where the line is as the sun goes through the second decan of Libra. Jupiter pulling out of Gemini does mean that you're going to be in a place where you now will start to feel uncertain about how you feel. Jupiter's been giving you a pass about your feelings. Normally you ignore your feelings anyways with thoughts. You have Gemini ruling your fourth house of emotion. So you already were born trying to think about your feelings instead of actually feeling your feelings, which is funny because it just makes you more sensitive. When you ignore this becomes more sensitive. Jupiter in the last few months has said, no, don't worry. We got pillows for you. We got massages. You're going to always feel good. Now Jupiter's pulling back, and it's like, okay, it's up to you now to practice what we taught you about how to keep your mind on the right things, to keep yourself in the right emotional tone. So I do predict Pisces to get a little slippery and maybe slip on a couple of cracks and break a couple of backs kind of thing, because they were so frazzled with being left to themselves to nurture themselves that a lot of them will sort of slip on the banana peel and learn that way. So that happens, I find, particularly in this house with Pisces and emotion. You don't do the work, boom, you'll be on your back, you'll be thinking about it, right? Now, from that point, we have, of course, Jupiter retrograding. Actually, I already did that. I got a little lost there. Jupiter moving into that space of taking care of self. Now, from the boundaries perspective, the Aries part, which is where I failed and I skipped ahead because I'm in space-time jumping around here. The Aries part of the boundaries is if you draw the boundaries correctly and you don't go back and forth, like I mentioned, and you're not loosey-goosey, and you go, here's where the lines are and here's how I'm going to keep them, the money starts to roll in. It turns out that to have money, step 10, you've got to have strong boundaries. 0 to manifest. Step 10, I manifest. So strong boundaries means strong paychecks, law of attraction, good opportunities to make money. So don't just stop with the boundary. Also look at where that boundary can turn into saving, multiplying, and abundance, because it's there for you to have. And Chiron is healed enough there for you to be ready to accept the fact that you're spiritual and wealthy, which is one of the areas that Pisces were tripped up on and having a hard time. And then we have, of course, the Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, and that's where I was talking about prematurely, that you've got to take care of your emotional feelings. You've got to keep be mindful of your feelings to be good for yourself. That's where I skipped over. I talked about it, but I'm reiterating. Jupiter's pulling out of your emotions. So you've got to sit there and put in the stilts, put in the things, bring in the pillows, and nurture yourself according to what your mind might say. And then lastly, we have Pluto. Pluto at 29 has to do with where you belong in society. And the thing is that as I think about this spiritually and I tune into it, you know exactly where you belong. You're afraid to take it. You're afraid to take your place in the world. I've seen it over and over again. It's you facing the fear of raising your hand and saying, I'm the one to do this. That is where I see Pisces slipping. That is where you're letting your feelings take over you. That's where you're letting your feelings take over your power to control. And that ultimately is what will be fixed with this Pluto 29. Pisces will find where they belong and they will take their place in society, says Pluto and God, and they will stand tall and do what they're here to do, which is to wrap up the age of Aquarius before the age, to wrap up the age of Pisces before the age of Aquarius. I'm thinking inside out right now. I think I've had enough, but you get it. Don't avoid your role in the world. Time to take it and try right now. Use Pluto, make it happen. All right. Whew, I went in and out of reality on that one, channeling. I mean, literally in and out of reality. But y'all, we have got an amazing guest here tonight. I'm super excited. We're going to talk about the power of children. We're going to talk about Alison and what she does. And we're going to talk about how she went from modern medicine into a medium that channels Mary. Keep streaming for Astro Mingle after this intermission. Zodiac weather is from Saturday, October 5th to Friday, October 11th, 2024. Looking first at your weekend forecast, it looks as though the weekend's about stirring up the story and innovating your odds. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and rather reserved. This despite Jupiter ruling the day. Following your heart's feelings, you'll have an expansion of opportunities and a fresh perspective will be born. Did I mention it's also Love Fest Day? Tell everyone you love that you love them on Saturday. On Sunday, it's sunny and positive. Step 13 indicates Uranus is the ruling planet. Uranus brings themes like breakdown and breakthrough and expect the unexpected. Therefore, it's time in Libra to receive relationship changes, maybe some that weren't expected. New boundaries in relationships will bring emotional maturity to the person who put them forth. Mercury squaring Mars means the mind and the ego have a tug-of-war about what to commit to, and the moon in Scorpio seals the deal by closing the boundary. Looking forward now to the 5-day weekday forecast. Over the arc of the week, will you begin very clear about what relationships aren't working, and by the end of the week, you're committing to what you want to change. On Monday, it's sunny and interesting. Step 14 indicates Mercury is the ruling planet of the day. Expect a lot of processing and communication. You are therefore receiving new opinions about things and moving forward with your plans. The moon will shift from Scorpio to Sagittarius at 7:34 p.m., indicating a Sirius to light energy, and Venus conjoins Juno, which holds space for the future. On Tuesday, it's sunny and feeling believable. Step 15 indicates that Venus rules the day. Today you'll be receiving an open heart and the ability to take things to your heart. You're also manifesting some powerful narrative changes. Story changes are emotionally narrated by the moon in Sagittarius. And Venus trines Mars, Venus trines Jupiter, and Mercury conjoins Chiron. All 6 planets in this equation are basically finding neutrality under the step number of net 6. On Wednesday, it's sunny and learning. Step 16 indicates Neptune rules the day, opening up the crown chakra to receive psychic information. And the information that you might receive is that the world is actually now changing. This is further supported by Jupiter stationing retrograde, which indicates learning has stopped down at the Grandmaster degree of Step 21. Juno also trines Jupiter, and Juno opposes Chiron, which brings a synergy energy to the major healing planets. On Thursday, it's sunny and responsible. Step 17 means that Saturn has taken over the day. Not only that, but the moon is in Capricorn, also one of Saturn's signs. So the I receive statement is a new commitment to the world and rewriting your vision for the future. And then on Friday, it's sunny and transforming. Step 18 means that Mars is the ruling planet of this day. You're going to be receiving action items and things you have to do as you witness the world is in fact changing. The moon moves from Capricorn into Aquarius, so you might end with a rebellious spirit. But bringing the cherry to the sundae for both the week and the year, Pluto stations direct at 6:31 p.m. Eastern.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Wild Pack, it's Mama Bear, aka Bernadette, the Arc Animal Tarot and Oracle certification class that you guys have asked me for 4 years. 4 years you've been asking. It's finally coming. It will be out this week. If we haven't met yet, I'm Mama Bear, and I always read with my own deck, the Arc Animal Tarot and Oracle deck, 223-page book. There are 149 cards. It's a big old deck, but there were a lot of animals that wanted to be in it. And animals don't play. When they want something, they want it. And that's that. So just give up the ghost and just do what you're supposed to do, please, which is follow your heart, follow your calling, follow your, oh, wait, what are they called? Natural instincts? Ha ha!
All right, welcome to ASTRO Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented lightworkers and innovative influencers of our time. For several months, we've focused on the spiritually magical practitioners. We've highlighted their connections to higher realms and spiritual wisdom. Tonight, we flip the script and focus on a lightworker who channels heavenly straight down to the tiniest angels on earth, the babies and the children. Alison Elsberry is often lovingly referred to as a baby child soul whisperer. She's a translator of invisible imprints, helping to bridge the gap of communication and consciousness between awakened parents and this next generation of very special, beautiful, brilliant souls. She's a former pediatric occupational therapist and a craniosacral therapist, and is a current student of the pre and prenatal psychology. She's also the creator of the Embodied Brilliance and Brilliant Barefoot, which are unique learning pathways that nurture a baby and a child's awareness of their body so they have a healthy foundation to flourish with their gifts and live as a true radiant self in physical form. She now assists babies, children, and their families to flourish in love by deepening the connection to their body, to nature, and to the divine. So with that said, please join me in sending waves of love and light to tonight's guest, our brilliant, beautiful Alison Elsberry. Hello. Is she on here? Okay. I was like, oh, there's a reveal. Hi, nice to have you on our show. Oh, we don't hear her. Sorry. I think my energy's blasted it out here.
How's that?
That's perfect. Hello. Nice to have you on.
I think it was muted on my end.
It happens, yeah. Even to me, you'll find. So welcome to the show. It's nice to have you here. I've heard great things about you. You sound fantastic. Your sound's coming in great. You're welcome. God, there's so many things to talk to you about, but I think one of the first things is just the scope of your work in the sense that when we talk about children, you're referring to the nature, like a state of awareness that exists in us even as adults, are you not? You're talking about this scope of innocence and of the heart. Can you define what a child is young and what a child is in older age?
Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah. When I really think about babies, children, and how our inner child grows and develops with us, it's really about connection to the pure essence and innocence of our soul and how we maintain that connection and that relationship over time based on what our childhood experiences are and based on other life lessons that we cross paths with.
Okay. And so when someone is sort of shut down to their inner child, that's a common issue I have with my clients. Like, what would you say is the first step from what you've learned with actual children and channeling? And we'll talk about your channel to Mary is amazing. Like, there's a lot to talk about tonight, but
I know.
what's your, I want to fit it in. What is your first step just for someone who's blocked right now so they can know right now watching that they don't have to stay in that state, that there's hope there?
Yeah. I think one of the most beautiful things that we can do if someone is feeling like they have a lot of inner child healing or emotion coming up is spending time in nature and letting that part of you be soothed, even if you are not really sure. what that looks or feels like.
Okay.
And I also really feel like another beautiful way is just literally taking your hands like this and putting them on your heart or your chest and just literally closing your eyes for a second.
Yeah.
And we can all do this in this moment. And just taking a nice, big, deep breath in through your nose and out your mouth. And just saying hello to yourself and hello to your inner child in this moment. Even if you don't know what that feels like or what might open up from that, sometimes just simply the acknowledgement of saying hello is enough to make that connection. And especially doing that when you're in nature is such a wonderful way to connect with our pure essence.
I love the nature part because, you know, I moved out into the country after being in the cities for a long time, and everyone's like, you need nature. And then genuinely you go out in it and you do feel relieved, like Mother Nature takes you in her hands, and there's a divine feminine that happens, much like Mary, I guess,
Yeah.
that makes us feel mothered. And I think a lot of us are missing that element because our mother had issues and their mother had issues and so on. So it's amazing just taking the place and being your own surrogate mother, you know.
That's right. And because of the time and age that we live in, and because so many people feel disconnected from their body and from nature, it's all that more important to find places to be in nature, to give you that sense of being held and support, especially if there's been a lot of early childhood trauma where you didn't have a bond or a connection to your mom, because the very first relationship that we ever have as a soul on this planet is through our mother and what her connection to the earth is.
Her connection to the earth. That's a big point.
Yes, it's huge. And then look at the way that birth and pregnancy and birth and postpartum seasons for women don't really honor that part of it. And then we wonder, you know, why children are feeling the way they do. And then, you know, like some of us, you know, grew up to spend the majority of our adult life healing from, you know, experiences that happened to us in childhood.
Yes, it seems to be the core issue.
Yeah.
And sometimes in our generation, nurturing the mother, reverse
Yeah.
up, you know, I think it's a big part of it too.
It is.
So what inspired you to make the transition from the pediatric occupational therapist into the more of a spiritual leader in a role? What inspired you? When exactly did that start to happen? The astrologer me is curious.
Yeah. Well, let me think about like timeline just for like to satisfy your astrology curiosity.
Thank you.
It was right around my first Saturn return, I would say.
Oh, wow. That's young.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
that
yeah.
means it was a mission from the beginning. Yeah.
Oh, from the beginning. And even when I was a baby, I have memories of just wanting to connect with other babies and children.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been that ingrained, you know, in me from the get-go. And I remember specifically when I was probably about maybe 5 years into my occupational therapy career, what I started to feel like was I was only helping children fit in. Meaning I was, you know, trained in a modality and in a paradigm that was supposed to fix what was wrong with a child that had been given a label or a diagnosis. And so what I started to feel like was, okay, if this child is coming to me and I'm helping them with fine motor skill development or whatever it is that we were working on, but maybe that wasn't actually developmentally appropriate for what their soul was experiencing at the time, but yet the school or the classroom or wherever they were saying, no, we need this to be happening. So I really just started to feel unethical and really started to question my own integrity. Am I really assisting children, or am I actually helping them just fit into a system that wants them to do things by a certain age and in a certain way?
Right. That makes total sense. And I think,
Yeah.
we've all seen that in modern medicine where it seems like they kind of are pointing us to keeping the symptoms alive forever
Yeah.
and just facing the symptoms and never actually, making us look like we're okay and we don't have a runny nose and then pushing us back out there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
how did
then,
that lead to what you call a guide for new soul or new earth souls is the way you put it? A whole guide.
yeah. So what I started to realize was I couldn't find billing codes for what I was doing in my sessions, right? And I needed to
Wow.
find I needed to find a different container that didn't restrict my own capacity to shine my light. And so that's when I was like, I just have to create my own thing. And so the entrepreneurial curiosity in me really went for that. And then over time, I just started to realize, gosh, it just makes sense to me when these babies and kids are coming and the parents are asking so many questions about their spiritual gifts and this and that. And it was just like so familiar, like the back of my hand, and I started to realize that, I'm guiding these new earth souls, the souls that are coming through that have a very different frequency, that have very different gifts, that have very different needs outside of the mainstream systems that are currently in place. And so I started to really feel like, I'm here to really guide these souls of the new earth because I really understand what they're experiencing. And in a lot of ways, I feel like, if we're looking just purely on a linear timeline, I felt like, well, I kind of feel like one of them, and I came early to kind of like figure this out and like pave a way.
I was just going to ask that same question. And where are you from anyways? Like, where is this? We've heard of this before. We've had a couple of practitioners. Dylan Maven of Human Design talked about there's the Raven, what they call the Raven souls that are coming. And it sounds just like your, demo of these enlightened. They're like enlightened. They have different agendas than we do. They have different sets of values.
Yeah.
Can you specifically point to a couple of details that mother could spot she had a new earth soul right now?
Yeah. Are you looking for like, okay, how do I know this child in front of me with what gifts they have? Is that what you're asking?
Well, no, just that I got one of the old regulars or I got a new soul baby. Like which one I got, doctor?
Yeah. Most parents really feel it in their heart. Like they just know, okay, there's something unique about my child. Right?
Okay.
I know they're here for a big purpose. I may not know what that is, but I want to know. Or maybe they're talking about past life incarnations or simultaneous lifetimes, and the parents are like, oh, what do I do with this? Or maybe at 2 years old, they already have the alphabet memorized and are doing multiplication tables. I mean, there's such a variety of ways that I really feel like I don't like to categorize or like say if this group of souls does this and then this group of souls does that. That's still too black and white for me personally. I really trust when a parent says, hey, I know my child is here for a really big purpose. They're showing me these amazing gifts. I just kind of know that I want to support their path. Are you able to help me with that?
Yeah, that's true. I'm a father, and there's amazing understanding telepathically of your child right from the get-go. You're kind of like, how do I know this? There's, and you recognize them, and they recognize you in that first moment too. And there's also like a bond there. Yeah. And I've heard
That's
a lot of parents. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also want to say that I don't know if I would say like like how we were making a joke, like how you said, oh, an old regular soul or a new soul. There's a lot of souls that are coming onto the planet right now that are old souls, but have been away from the earth realm, mastering different skill sets. Right. So when they come in, they seem like whoa, what is this place? But it's because they've been away for a while and there's a lot going on here. And Earth is a very dense place, right? And so they're coming back and it's been a while. And it takes a lot for all of us to adjust to being in a physical form. So I don't know if it's so much a matter of an OG soul or a new soul. It's as a parent, what eyes do you want to look through? Because the potential for your child's soul and their gifts to flourish and blossom is not dependent upon where they're from. It's dependent upon how you see them.
It's a good point of view. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. An example of how you teach these parents to shift their perspective to, welcome the child and make that child comfortable, most likely. Is that approaches like that?
Absolutely. It's like, how can I look through this with fresh eyes?
Would that be a similar approach again to my first example of someone who's lost touch with their inner child, who's lost touch with their innocence, feels stuck? Because this is the most common thing I get. I draw in people who are disconnected from their heart over and over again. I think it's because I was, and now I was found. It's part of my story too. And it's hard sometimes as a practitioner. I don't know how I did it. You know what I mean? I just knew there's a magical yellow brick road in there, and I skipped on it, and suddenly I was a goofball. So from a practical sense, how can we reframe our approach to our inner child?
This is such a good question. And there's like so much to say about it, but there's always something for me about following joy and realizing that that part of our inner child is still very much alive, but it might have gotten buried under different armoring.
Yes.
Right? Or protective mechanisms, walls of defense. And sometimes when we get those little nudges, like what brings me joy? Like what would feel so good right now? Oh, maybe it's to go stand outside and feel the sun on my face. Or maybe it's, I'm going to go pick a flower, or, maybe I'm going to go to the ocean and walk barefoot. It's like, sometimes it's the littlest, most subtle, simple things that are easily overlooked that can have the most profound effect.
Yes, totally. And I found that when I was stuck and shut down from my inner child, I always wanted big things. I need this. I need, a trip around the world. I was like laying on all these things. But when I did something simple, like take myself to the beach, which I love, I got angry. My inner child got angry because I was paying attention to the little things that had been ignored, I felt.
Yes.
And so there's even a resistance that happens when you start to tap into that lost child because it's pissed that it's been left behind, and it tells you with real rage it comes up. So I think there's also a stage of once you do listen. But with my clients, I've seen the
100%. Yeah.
But I've seen the same thing when if you, for instance, listen to that impulse that just wants to go get a piece of candy, something silly like that, and your mind says, no, we can't have time. And you say, no, I'm going to give myself this piece of candy. I have found that there is a bigger prize beyond that candy. Like literally God dangles like the path through joy. Like, believe it or not, the path is through joy. It's not hard work, determination makes a strong man. It is take one step towards your joy. Now 2 steps. That's what I found. And you're actually affirming it with your words. It's brilliant.
I mean, joy is such a great guidepost for our connection to the divine.
It seems to be a valid one. I mean, and one that pays every time. Once it starts to melt to that scar tissue and whatnot. So I also understand from pre-interview and whatnot that you have techniques to help an adult feel more embodied and connected to their body, which is something I have a hard time doing. I want to fly out of my body. You probably saw it here tonight. I always turn this hummingbird when I start to like vibrate too high. I'm bouncing off the walls. My parents are like, will you sit down? So how do you do it? I mean, for me, I grab some food. It grounds me. Are there other techniques?
Yeah. So if a parent is like, and I'm just going back to like a parent as an example, but this can be applicable for any of us. Sometimes what can feel so challenging is staying present when your child is having an emotion that feels uncomfortable for you, right? because it's simply mirroring something inside of you that feels uncomfortable with that emotion inside of you. Like they're literally showing you the places inside that need to be tended to and heard and held. And we don't have to overcomplicate this. Yes, the trauma can feel deep and sludgy and dark and heavy sometimes, and getting through those layers. And if we're able to meet that with softness, like how we were doing in the beginning, sometimes literally just making physical connection with the body can be so incredibly grounding and bring us back to the body. When we focus on sensation, right? Like, I'm just going to feel my feet on the ground right now. Yeah. Like, what temperature is right under my feet? Like, literally, like right now, I'm feeling the floor under my feet, and it's a little bit cold in some spots, a little bit warm in some spots. And then sometimes it's literally, I'm just feeling my sit bones on the surface of the chair, the couch, or whatever I'm sitting on, and feeling those points of connection. And another really great way is literally through the breath. We can breathe ourselves back into our body, especially if we go stand outside, bare feet. We feel our feet on the earth, and we take a few breaths, and we focus on breathing into the lower part of our back ribs. That all signals safety to the body. The nervous system is like, oh, this physical form is actually a safe place to be. Okay. Let me repattern and reprogram that for a second.
So you said the inside of the lower back?
Yeah, lower back ribs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that's like where most back pain happens in this country.
Yeah.
That lower back pain is like, it just makes me wonder if that's a symptom of, not bringing light and love back there.
Yeah, and it's also like, if you take your hands, like any of us can do this right now. If you take your hands and you literally just kind of put them on like the ribs that float, your lower back ribs, and you come around to the midpoint of your back. Let's just say hello to our adrenals. That's where your adrenal glands are. Yeah, it's like,
lower
oh,
back
hey.
right there.
So not so much lower back, more kind of like, because we're doing our lower back ribs, meaning lower back ribs, not front ribs, but our back ribs, meaning the ribs that are behind us.
Yeah, that's where the adrenals are. Huh.
Yeah, so it's kind of more like mid back. And so we're just saying hello to our adrenals, which is a really great place to breathe into, which helps us signal safety to our body and helps our nervous system relax more. And when we feel more relaxed in our body, it's easier to be in our body because it feels like it's an okay place for our light to be.
Got you. Yeah, make a safe vessel to reground. Yeah.
That's right. And that's why this is so important for kids, right? Especially as babies. Like, the more we can really mirror that to them, especially as a parent, the more we can be grounded and in our bodies, the more that we're a safe place for them to softly land into and regulate their own nervous system.
Yeah, and it seems like, and we don't have to get on the rabbit hole of why, but more and more kids are hyper. They're having a hard time grounding. They're kind of born bouncing off the walls. So it's like a growing epidemic, really, versus, the past. It seems like it's a big issue, just staying calm. And then, of course, we give them, Adderall for kids. I mean,
yeah. And I don't mind going down the rabbit hole with you on this one at all, because it's a big topic.
Preach. You got it. No.
Yeah. So the food that we put into our bodies and that we share with other people in our family have a very big impact on how our bodies feel, right? Processed foods, or foods that are high in non-food, right? Like chemically made food, non-food food. That doesn't help kids feel really good in their body. And what it does is it puts a lot of artificial chemicals and colorings and things in the body that does this to the nervous system, right?
Right.
It's buzzy. Then we add on technology and stresses of the modern world and all
Right.
of those other things. It's like a child's biology and like the expectations of society are constantly in conflict with
Mm-hmm.
one another. So how can a nervous system feel regulated if a child is not eating food that's bodily friendly for their
Mm.
light and their soul, plus
Yeah.
all the other layers and expectations that get put upon that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and there's no experience with this. I mean, this is a new phenomenon. We're not really well researched, and all these different chemicals are putting in our body. So we're in the wild
Mhm.
west. And if you're trying to cleanse, it's like you don't even know where to start as an adult. So as a kid, it's hard to have organic food on the table too. Ridiculous. Even in my generation, grew up in the 80s, it was still macaroni and cheese and,
Yeah.
Kraft macaroni and cheese and pizza.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a leap. How did you go from this to Mother Mary? That's quite a leap. Did she knock on your door? Like, what was the introduction to working with Mama Jesus?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that's
love,
incredible.
yeah. So my journey with her has been infinite and
Okay.
forever.
Okay.
And in this incarnation, I saw her from the moment I can remember seeing her, as far back as I can remember. So much so that I saw her clear as day, meaning I thought she was actually another family member.
Oh, wow.
And when we were going out to dinner one time, I was around about probably 4. We were going out as a family. And I said, well, isn't Mary coming with us? Because I started to realize, okay, no one's talking to
Mm.
someone that I see. And it was in that moment that my family realized, uh-oh, she's seeing someone we don't see. And it was also in that moment I realized, uh-oh, they just found me out. Like, they know that I'm seeing something that they don't see.
Mm.
And it caused a lot of fear and anxiety for them.
Oh, sure.
So I'm saying this because my work that I do now, how I've been called into it, is because of the experiences that I had in my own childhood, being so profoundly connected to Mother Mary and her essence of grace,
Mm.
and feeling how no one around me had a clue about how to help me embody that and stay
Mm-hmm.
safe and connected in my body, and
Mm-hmm.
how to like really nurture that. And it created such an impact on how I felt about sharing my own gifts in the world and how I felt about even telling other people about her. So I kept a lot of that hidden and locked away. And it wasn't until, so like the connection was always there, but it wasn't until I started working with babies that,
Mm.
it was kind of like I couldn't ignore the messages anymore.
Mm.
And I just realized, okay, this is one of those moments where, this is a bigger mission and this is what I said yes to. And I can't not say yes to it. And so it's been a journey not for the faint of heart, I will say.
Really, I'm real curious about it.
Mm,
We work with someone who works with Mary Magdalene, channeling her.
yeah,
And so this divine feminine family,
yeah.
in-laws and all.
Hmm.
How old were you when you first saw Mother Mary? Do you
Well, like
recall?
I can remember playing in my room in my toy box like at 18 months old
Wow.
and
I'm
seeing
wild that
her.
you remember 18 months old too. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, we
Huh.
we can remember lots of things when given the chance to go in and connect with ourselves that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I agree with that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But to carry it, and so does she speak to you? Was there telepathic communication?
Yeah,
Was there,
I love this. So I often will get asked, like, how does the messages come through? And it's changed over time. The more that my soul has matured and felt comfortable, like really embodying this frequency. And at first it was, I would see her and I would hear her. And then as I got older, I would just really feel her. And I don't ever feel separated from her. And when I channel her, I don't describe it as, oh, I'm just, like I'm bringing through a stream of consciousness and I'm going to type something out or I'm going to speak it. It literally feels like the most warm heart connection and that we're both speaking from the heart. That's what it feels like to me. Yeah. It's like sitting with your best friend in a beautiful garden having your most delicious cup of tea. Yeah.
I've had that experience visiting the angelic realm.
Yes.
The feeling of love is so incredible and undeniable. It's not a head trip because your heart does not go off the cliff with that kind of joy on its own.
That's right.
Ever in life.
Yeah.
And to go from 0 to goosebumps. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so did Mary, and you don't have to answer this if it's a secret, I assume you had the mission set up before you came down.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, what did I say yes to?
This was not in the brochure.
Right.
Yeah,
oh, shoot. I forgot about that part.
Yeah. I think they like skip over details and have them like, it's going to be fine. Don't worry. We'll be right with you the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think we say, okay, I'll do it. And like, oh no. Yeah. That's interesting. So is there an active mission right now? You don't have to talk about it, but because I am seeing in my position, the company of heaven making major moves. Coming in with clearly a plan, which is very heartwarming because, that's what they told us if we prayed that we get help. But I am seeing like a strategic, organized plan, people, places, different things, hitting little pinch points. Is there a clear plan, or is it kind of a momentary, like go in the hospital, there'll be a child? Is it kind of CIA whispering in your ear, or?
Oh, I love that. This is such an honor to be able to talk about it in this way because it's not something I've actually been able or ever asked. So I really honor the chance and the opportunity to be able to like really share this with everyone. So thank you. I just want to say that.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah.
I was raised with weird parents that made this all normal to me.
Yeah, no, I love that. Right now, it's not so much like child by child. It's more, okay, get this in place for the new earth way of living, the golden age, right? Let's create the newer educational learning pathways. Let's create the newer ways for moms postpartum to feel supported. It's like, I feel like she's having me back my work up as early as possible, meaning like birth and even before that, like where relational roots really get solidified and to really focus on solutions, creating beautiful new things that these new souls, new meaning newer to the earth, newer ideas, newer ways of creating, but not always like brand new, spanking new souls.
Right. New to earth.
Right. New systems and structures in place that really honor their body as sacred, that really solidifies them staying connected to the source, to their soul, to who they are, so that they have a childhood of that. And that they start sharing their gifts from the get-go and don't ever have to make the decision to shut that down.
Wow. Okay.
That's what we're creating.
Okay. And I'm hearing that same sentiment echoed in other practitioners too.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And that seems to be phase one. Phase one, don't let the kids get hurt. Put them somewhere safe, keep them out. But this leads me to believe, and I just want to say this because of people's fear. I no longer fear things going south. I did for a long time, especially around COVID. I
Yeah.
thought, oh Lord, it's not what I thought it was. Looks like we've lost. Like it was looking bad there for a moment. But now, in the hindsight of coming through that fear, which I see was programmed in me for years and lifetimes, I now am convinced that if they're building schools for these new kids, there's no way Earth is not on its destined path. There's no way we're going to get stopped. It's going to stop.
Yes. And I really feel like it's all about our choice and what we want to believe. And we create
Okay.
as we speak. We live in a very amazing self-corrective matrix,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's a good way to put it. It's a very good way to put it.
Meaning, if I'm getting guidance, and I can only, speak from my own personal experience, but if I'm getting guidance and I'm listening and I have the courage to follow through on those actions, which
True.
sometimes is, I have my own stuff to work through to be able to do this work, right?
Right.
So to follow through on that part of it, and when that gets created, I'm truly using my own powers of co-creation to self-correct the matrix without needing to fix or change anyone or anything else.
You just start paddling towards the other direction, and suddenly the matrix is like, okay, starts to go with you.
And it's not that I'm ignoring or discounting what's going on.
Right.
It's that I know as a soul that I am most powerful where I choose to place my attention and focus.
Totally. Exactly. Thank you for affirming that. That's exactly what we teach and what I've downloaded too. It's like there's nothing to do but start moving towards what you want, period.
Yeah.
Don't even listen to them. Don't even pay attention. Just get on your path. Right?
Yep.
That your heart calls you to.
That's right.
Has Mother Mary somehow been a mother for you? Has she filled in where there were gaps or been that stepmom or that grandma energy? Because I get that feeling like, to me, she's like a grandma energy.
Yeah.
At least with my grandma, the safe, so do you have personal guidance? Like, does she invest in you personally? And then also what you two are working together? Okay.
Yes. And I love that you asked that, because I remember when I first realized, we're partnering to do this mission work for to assist babies and children and families in the world. I wasn't asking her about my own personal path. I was just like, I'm only supposed to talk to her about other people. Right. And then she was like, hey, this guidance is, plentiful and for everyone. And that was a really big healing lesson for me, was to also really include myself in that mix as well. Like, I'm just as important as the work that I'm doing on this planet.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that somewhere along the line, we got lost as light workers, probably the Christian church, where we were told to give ourselves up and sacrifice ourselves. And, and that stuck. Like, we were born doing it. I was a kid. I would give away my lunch. I'd help. I don't know what it was, but it's just like, it built in me, like all sacrifice. And to this day, it's a problem. Like not having enough food, like just not thinking for myself enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that. Yeah. That's one of the biggest lessons she taught me, was like, there's no reason to have any archetypal martyrdom energy in you at all.
Yeah.
That serves no one.
Yeah. Well, and we have so many reminders that keep talking us back into it, too. So,
and that's part of the programming.
Yeah. Totally. So that's fascinating. Where's the connection between the body and the soul? I mean, yes.
I'm like,
on the nerd glasses. We're gonna nerd out on this connection. Hello, is everyone asleep? No. Well, you have the connection to your body, like grounding yourself in reality, but then your body itself is an extension. What I've heard is like, the body is actually in like a sack. The body is in the soul. The soul's not in the body. Have you heard that? Or?
Yeah. I'm so happy we get to talk about this. I was hoping we would. So I'm just going to share what my perspective is, and then people can see if that feels aligned or what. So the way that I see it and feel it, and the way that babies and children have shown me, is that the soul is what creates the body, right?
Mhm.
And then the body, there's this amazing partnership. I call it, well, Mother Mary taught me to call it a miracle of kindness, that the body opens then to receive the soul, because it's the kindness, the grace of the body opening to receive the light of the soul. It's that unification. So really, soul and body are one of the same. But where it gets really interesting is when we look at the nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord, all the electrical impulses and programming. And how I see the nervous system is the window between the soul and the body, and how it communicates, and how it chooses to come into form.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, and so I do see soul as body and body as soul, because we obviously wouldn't be here as a soul without a physical form. So there's that real interplay and connection. It's that critical, right? It's our physical form is the container, the avenue in which our gifts flow from.
And interact with Mother Earth, made from elements of Mother Earth, made from energy of Mother Earth. So borrowing that.
Yeah,
I have a friend,
and that's like literally heaven on earth. That's how we bridge heaven on earth. Like, we need to be in our body to do that. Yeah.
And we're being talked out of it, and we're being separated from it, and being disconnected from it with drugs
and babies and children are being educated out of it.
Yes. Yeah. Just throw by you is an interesting. I have a friend who does fascial maneuvers for the, where you twist your fascia. He's convinced the fascia is the antenna, not the nervous system, and he only argues that because nervous system moves too slow to actually react to what we react to. Interesting, but along the lines of the nervous system, fascial system, it's like the intranet of your body, where it is actually receiving signals from spirit, and it is also sending electrical signals in like lower 3D Earth kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that, and I see that too in my previous work as a craniosacral practitioner, working with babies and mamas, and doing a lot of hands-on body work. You know, the fascial system is incredible and is genius and brilliant.
Yeah, and I never heard of it till I was out of school, so never made it into medical tech. So you got to wonder, oh, you have this mesh all over your inner side of your body, but don't worry about that. Cut into the artery, It's interesting how we get misled. So what about basics like food and water? Like right now, I mean, I haven't had, my son is 27. So 27 years since I held him as a baby, right? That's not true. I held him last week and I was heavy, but I did. He went back out, but I love my boy. But like, even then, back in that, when he was being raised in the 90s or in the late 90s, I was worried about water. I was worried about the stuff. And, and now I look at the formulas that we have suddenly some shortages of, that we're not even using breast milk anymore. It seems like we completely tried to synthesize biology 100%. And it seems like mothers have just been talked into this without questioning it. That formula, I was scared, looking at how much formula is being pushed in COVID. And I was like, really? We have that many babies on formula? Because when I was a parent, it was only if there's a problem. Otherwise you pump the breast milk, you know what I mean? Like, put in the fridge for later. Now it seems like we completely replaced it. So to me, the water and whatever the powder is, like, these are all perhaps interruptions to it. I mean, what do you know about it without triggering a YouTube algorithm?
Yeah. Baby formulas, water are excellent carriers for other things that our bodies don't really need to have in it.
Got you.
Right?
Yeah.
They're great disguises for the things that are toxic and not bodily friendly to our body, our soul, and our nervous system, that keep us very disconnected.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you've got to go out of your way, to basically we're carrying pails of water still.
That's, I mean, basically, yeah. Know your source of everything, right? The source of where you come from, and then where you're sourcing your sources from, right? Like,
Right.
where's your food and water source from and what's in it? That's so important to know in this day and age.
It really is, to the point where I'm at a point now where I don't trust anything in a store.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I want to go talk to the farmer, get in their face.
Yeah.
They're always so sweet, so I trust them. But like, you get to that farmer's market and you're like, no, you're not, you know, you feel bad second going. I'm like, you're sure now? I feel like
Yeah. And what did you put on that? Yeah.
Exactly. What'd you go with? Exactly. Excuse me. Yeah. So this is why, you know, you have this in our pre-interview. It's like, it's important to eat organic, real, whole, clean food sources. And I just brushed upon it, but for those who don't know and don't realize how they're just, a lot of their emotional issues is what they're eating. Their sleep issues is what they're eating. It's like, you don't realize it, but you are just subconsciously poisoning yourself slowly over time. So for people who don't have money, or like people don't have knowledge, like, what's like phase one do you recommend to just get them one step into better food and water?
Great question. So it can be as simple as switching things out that have all the artificial flavors and chemicals and things like that for something that is less, let's say, less harmful, you know, to the body. You can start small, especially if it feels really overwhelming, right? Like, whoa, where do I even begin with this? And really finding your local farmers markets and finding other sources of people who are growing things, because I will tell you that oftentimes organic food that was grown from happy people at the farmer's market, or maybe even a neighbor that has extra in their garden down the road, is oftentimes less expensive and more affordable than what is on the store shelf.
Totally. And I know.
So that's a great place to start, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or growing it yourself is also a really great place to start. Yeah. Pick one thing. Right? Kale. It's really hard to kill kale.
Yeah, it is. Right? And it grows back. If you cut off some kale for a salad, a couple weeks later, back.
Yep.
It grows right back, like, you know, one of those Marvel comic things. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, there are just superfoods like that. And kale is, I get the impression, the psychic impression, that it does a lot of cleaning inside you.
Yeah.
That's what it tells me that.
Like scrubbing.
Yes, I talked to kale. You know, it's interesting. And plants will talk to you and tell you what they're up to if you ask them. You know, like if you listen.
Absolutely, they do. They're here with as much knowledge as any other of the elements of Earth, and including, you know, our own souls. And I would also say, to loop back around to your question about what can people do if they're looking for a way to start, like where to start. I would also say offer up a prayer, an intention, a question to source, God, goddess, creator, whatever your word of choice is, and ask to be led to the cleanest sources and solutions for food. And see what comes, you know, what synchronistically comes into your awareness.
Good suggestion. Yeah, and I guess from a woman who's talking to Mary, it's not, believe it or not, these conversations are real, and somehow they can handle 100,000 phone calls at once. So don't be shy. Give her a call.
You know? 100%. I mean, we're not meant to be doing this alone.
Yeah,
right.
That's true. I'm still learning that. I mean, I still have whatever my past life military training, you know, when I was a fighter, just to do it alone. I can't keep catching myself doing it alone. It's so subconscious. And the idea, like, I was channeling for, I don't know, a good like 4 years before it dawned on me to ask a personal question. You know, like I was like, oh wait, I could ask the guy that gave me the step numbers. Like, he seems to know a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and then it was like, thank God he asked. Like, there was like a relief, I just could feel them like, oh, they've been holding their breath or whatever.
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
wouldn't, and they wouldn't cross that line of free
Yeah.
will, you know. So it's
Hmm.
important for everyone to know they will not cross the line of free will. They are even evil entities will not cross the line of free will. They're all know that they'll get in trouble. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so you have to ask, is what we're saying. You have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. We're
Mm-hmm.
trained not to, you know, trained to be tall and, you know, stand tall, be proud, you know, all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So going back to your talent for reading babies, like, do you have some sort of a superpower, the baby whisperer? Um, what is that like? I mean, are you working with like a realm of children, or is it Mary coming down with her expertise? Like, I'm mother Jesus, I can mother anyone. Like, where does that knowledge come from? Are you discovering it for us, or are you channeling it, or
Yeah, great question again.
Mary's feeding me in the earpiece right here? Actually,
Yeah. She's like, hey.
we got a psychic in the back who's like relaying it.
I love that.
You wanted to work with us? She said, you know, you need a little help on camera. No, I'm kidding. Totally. No, it's just they're coming naturally in my own intuition.
Yeah, you ask really great questions. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
So, how I would best describe it is I've had this ability ever since I could remember, even when I was a small child, that when I see babies and children, it happens way more easier for babies and children than it does for adults. But it's like I see a blueprint off to the side.
Wow.
And they're showing me specifically where their soul is needing support,
Wow.
connecting with their body for their earthly journey, and like where in their nervous system they're needing support. And I'll even see like nutritional pieces and things like that. And then I will also hear information from Mother Mary, from my higher wisdom, from the baby or the child's higher wisdom. But it's so clear that it's like I'm literally sitting across from the baby or the child, and they're just, you know, telling me the things. And they're often so incredibly grateful because, you know, they don't have the verbal language yet to be able to really say, you know, hey, this is what I really want to communicate. This is what I need my mom to know, or this is what I really need to feel better in my body, or something like that. And it's just this thing that I do that's so natural that it's you know, often some of our greatest gifts are the things that just feel so natural, but we don't even know how to describe it to someone. It's kind of like that.
Totally. Yeah. I understand that. And my son didn't talk till he's about 4.5. And it was because I didn't realize that I was being telepathic with him. And my mom came over and she's like, you can't be psychic with him. You've got to, because I hit your mom. She's like, you got to make him use his words. I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about, Mom. And he walks around and he looks at me. I'm like, oh, his power. She's like, there, you just did it.
Yeah.
At that moment, I was, oh my God, like it was so natural. You know, the telepathy, you know, and to this day, it's very strong,
right.
which is great. Yeah, it's super fun. And
and I'm so glad that you shared that, because this is such a beautiful part of the way that we all come in. Like our first energy, I mean, our first language is energy, right? And so we know how to speak that and communicate that, but it's not always picked up by our other caregivers and the people around us. And a lot of children say that have been diagnosed even on the spectrum or given another label or a diagnosis, they're telepathically communicating, their soul's communicating in such beautiful ways, but we often get stuck, we meaning anyone, in a mainstream way of thinking. It can be so easy to say, well, they're not talking by this time frame. And then it becomes a problem.
Yeah. And then a stigma, and then I'm less than, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All because we stapled this date onto a child. And yeah, I believe a child will choose their timing of everything, you know.
Absolutely. 100%. They have their own timeline. You know, I often will say there's no right or wrong way to be in a body. And children have their own unique timeline. And that timeline is unique to their own soul's developmental freedom.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've had to do that with my son because I intuitively know the deal and no one believes me or cares, and it's just like, quit telling me how to parent my child. You have no clue what his spiritual special needs are, what the deal was in heaven. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's that push, and then it's like, oh, as a parent, you have to be careful, what you say too, especially now in schools. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
just weird watchdog stuff going on. It's just like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think, in fact, I'm being prompted to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
How do we protect these kids? Does Mary have like a secret underground tunnel somewhere with, if we're sweeping them out? Is there a Pied Piper coming? Like, to some degree, there must be some protection in place for these special children. Obviously, you're being, spiritually contracted to care for these
Yeah.
kids. Is it that they're just following their nose and they're led to where they need to go? Is that what you're observing?
So, gosh, I mean, the answer to this question is so complex. I mean, this
Yeah.
could be like a whole show in and of itself.
Yeah, and we have to speak in code.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say that, okay, so the first thing that comes through is every soul has their own particular set of skills and lessons and things that they're here to evolve forward.
Okay.
So some souls are just going to have experiences because they've agreed to have that for whatever reason.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, true. I'm always reminded of that. It's a choice. They chose to learn this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's not like we can prevent that part of it.
Right.
However,
Mm-hmm.
what I often will say to parents is question everything, not your intuition. Question every piece of external advice that crosses your path.
Mm-hmm.
And do your research.
Mm-hmm.
And if something is feeling off, to trust that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are a guardian and a steward of these souls and they're trusting you. And it's not to put another big pile of pressure on your shoulders.
Right.
It's to really solidify and drive home the point that they trust you to make the best decisions on their behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And that means sometimes doing things that feel hard. Sometimes that means going against the grain and doing things differently that look and feel different. That might bring up fear and uncomfortable things. But I say question everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially to me, I found the mixed messages, like it's whenever I've had a gray invitation, it's enveloped in white, and that's what I learned like after years, that light is they use light as a means of lure, those who have wrong, false intentions. And I guess it's meant people to know that it's like, just because you detect a little light doesn't mean that it's the right path. If something doesn't feel right and there's a big smile, doesn't mean it's the right path. Like you have to really go deep and listen to that subtle little
That's
tingle,
right.
that thing that just can't quite give in. Incredibly subtle.
Yes, and so often too, we're taught and conditioned in this culture and society to push through the fear.
Yes.
Do it anyway. And sometimes that might be true and appropriate, right? But it's like, what about the other pieces and parts of us that are needing to be held and heard the whole way through? Right? Because sometimes if we push through or we take such a big leap forward, it can feel so destabilizing for our nervous system. And then we can't actually ground into and hold on to what we're actually really trying to create change around. It just creates more chaos because we don't feel safe to have it, or our nervous system is like, well, that is expanding way beyond my capacity there. I need to like do something to get rid of that because it doesn't feel safe. So there's so much conditioning around, oh, just push through that. And I often will say to parents, be open to every little wiggly niggly feeling, not obsessively, but when that person just said this, I felt a little tinge of something in my stomach.
Yes.
Or
reading.
yeah, or when I don't know, my pediatrician said this to me. I don't know, something felt a little bit off and I felt a little bit of a lump in my throat. And it's like, don't ignore any of that. Your body is the most amazing communicator, and she or he will guide you to what is really true. So it's like, ooh, that sensation, let me explore that. Don't push through it. It's so easy to override.
Oh yeah, because it's so subtle. You know, that's what I found with the psychic awareness. I found that I'm incredibly psychic, acutely, to be honest, if I want to focus on it. And tune out my obsessions, which I don't always want to tune out my obsessions, so I let them play on. But when I discovered the sensation that accompanies a psychic thought, that was a huge discovery for me. That was it. That was eureka, you know, because I realized, at least for me, psychic thought is accompanied by a certain buzz, just like your phone may buzz when it has a message. And you learn to listen for those little buzzes in your conversations right now, even as using as cues to say, go deeper on this question, ask her this, you know, to get away, get far away, you know, just slowly back up now, you know. It's great because these kids are probably being raised with this awareness from the get-go, which is amazing, you know.
Well, and this is what teaches them it's safe to be connected to my body and feel the sensation and know that that's part of my soul communicating with me about what feels good, what feels right, what feels aligned. Right? That's everything for the next generation. That's why being connected to the body as a soul is so important, because that's where we stay connected to the divine. That's where our gifts flow from. Like the body is the gift.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And when we can really support children in feeling more confident with that, more grounded around that, more comfortable with that, more at ease with that, then, you know, their gifts have that much more ability to be amplified, because it's like, you know, plugging something into an electric socket. The power works because it's grounded, and then you turn the light on, it has a grounding cord.
Yes, you're right. And there is a ground, usually a grounding element that helps. And what happens is like there's more in there if you make it safe for it to come out. So it's also this, you know, growing into a beautiful something, right? Energetically. So let me ask, in regard to like the parents and children you work with, like, are they aware coming in? Are they just, you know, how often are they aware that their kid is, you know, got some sort of something special, and maybe they notice something, but they're not quite aware? What's the process of onboarding a situation like that? Because in our current belief structure, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs as far as people are concerned. You know? And people are trained to stay away from me. You know?
I understand.
So, right. Yeah.
So the families that tend to be most attracted to what I'm offering are already on an awakened path, or are awakening, and are very curious. And they may be like, I'm already doing these things, but I'm still not clear on this area. Or it might be someone saying, I am feeling so overwhelmed, depleted, exhausted. I have, you know, 3 under the age of 4. I know they're all here for amazing purposes, but I'm having a hard time taking care of my own self right now, and all my emotions that are coming up. How do I do that? So it's a mixed bag. But what I would say that everyone has in common is that they are curious. You know, they are already awake to the fact that, okay, I know that this is an amazing soul that I brought earthside that I want to tend to with the utmost care, but I may not know how to do that. Or if someone is feeling confident in doing that, they may be bumping up against their own triggers and wounds and patterns in their own parenting, and they feel stuck.
Right.
And they're like, wow, this is so hard. You know, how can I connect with my child more? And then so my work is really about helping parents really understand the soul of their child and what's going on for them and how that shows up in their what we would call behaviors. And then helping the parents navigate how to be connected with their own body and navigating somatically what comes up. Because all points of relating and connecting between a parent and a child in this earth realm happen through the body. So being in the body is everything. And tending to your nervous system and being in your body and being connected to your soul and being in nature is how you nurture the relational roots.
Got you. Yeah. And being connected. So I guess, you know, the time is going by very quickly here. 'Cause we're going down cool paths. Would you say, I want to go back to Mary for a minute and just ask, like, is she on call? Can we pray? Like, is this a 900 number? Like, ultimately, is she there to serve a certain purpose we're not quite aware of due to Constantine and his little fun of relegioning Rome? You know, has that been revealed to you? Not to get into spiritual conspiracies, but is there something we don't know about her that we're supposed to know about her? Because I get that sense. Am I outing someone here?
I know, I'm like,
Ask her real quick. I think she's prompting it. Well, I don't know if this is the secret. Like, I don't think it's the secret. I think.
You know, what's so interesting. So to just be present with my own nervous system reaction around that, right? Like, and then, yeah, it's okay to share this in a bigger way. So I'm just showing what it's like to be,
right.
You know, I'm being an example of what it's like to parent our own selves when we have like an emotional reaction in our own system around, oh, wow, I might be being really called out right now. I feel nervous. I'm sweating. What do I do with that? Okay. I'm just going to let everyone know that I'm feeling that right now. Right. Good. And then my nervous system can relax and then I can hear her more. And I know that it's okay.
Yeah.
So what's so interesting about you prompting that question is what I hear her really saying is that she is so available to anyone that calls upon her. There's not like some criteria or you have to be a certain this or a that or in this religion or that. She doesn't subscribe to any of that. She is someone that is so far outside of the paintings and religious overlays and dogma that I mean, she's just epically everywhere and available all the time, you know, and she has such a graceful connection with Mother Earth. And she's really here to usher in the changes of the new Earth. And she's a very big part of that. She's kind of like ascended in a way with her own role. How when ascended masters leave this earth plane as she was, she doesn't just stay stuck in the image and likeness of who we think she is. She's still on her ascension journey as well, right? Because we're infinite beings and we're constantly growing and evolving and creating new realms and new universes. And she's doing the same thing. And part of her upgraded, I guess you could say assignment, so to speak, is helping watch over the new earth and what is being dissolved and what is being created. And one of the ways that she's doing that is through a deeper connection and essence, and like an embodiment of Mother Earth herself,
Wow.
to where there's like this very palpable sense of grace with her.
Wow, that's brilliant. That was what I was digging for. I could feel it. I think it
Yeah.
makes people, well, first of all, I find that we believed as kids all these Bible stories, but then we didn't. You know, like I could feel it was true and not true.
Yeah.
And now that I've become a mystic, and I talk to people like you, which is an awesome job, by the way,
Yeah.
and I'm becoming friends with all these dead religious people, you know, like genuine friends, you know, like it's true friendship. And you're right. Like they basically, if you're ready, they'll work with you. Is what I find. Like if you're ready and your heart is true,
Yeah.
I find that most entities on the other side are delighted that you're following their footsteps and will completely be there for you in any regard you want. But I also feel like there's I have a lot of clients who are building Mary altars.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I mean, I don't know where that trend started. It wasn't in my neighborhood, you know, like it's like, it's obviously her reaching them or something, because it's not happening in any place public I've ever seen. And when I hear it over and over, Mother Mary and also Mary Magdalene, another crop of Marys.
Yeah.
I seem to myself, this is organized, you know, like, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is unfolding. And it also makes me so relieved because it's like, okay, it can't be stamped out, you know.
Well, and you think about like all those altars, and by the way, I had like this rush of like heat when you were talking about like all the altars.
Oh, really?
Being built and stuff. Yeah. And what that signals and tells me is that we are anchoring massive amounts of light through all of those altars. And that lineage of Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and Yeshua is such a profound lineage, because they walked this earth. They know what it's like to be in a body. They're here to help usher in this beautiful new earth and golden age, and they're available to those who have the ears and the eyes and the hearts to see and feel and hear the truth. And we can anchor more of those light grids and bring more of the source energy onto the planet to be more of that self-corrective matrix, you know, that I was talking about, and live in the way that feels in alignment and in integrity and meaningful in ways that really honor things as sacred. It's how we literally bridge heaven on earth, right?
Yeah, we embody heaven here on earth.
Right.
That's the bridge. Yeah.
Right. Where each one of us are a bridge. And I think that's really Mother Mary's message is that it's not exclusive or a club, right? It's like we all have the capacity to do that.
Yeah, totally. It's just like if someone volunteered in your organization, they're like, "Can I help you?" Like, sure.
Right.
You let that volunteer in to help you right away. That's how basically I think it happens. And you know, we have lifetimes we were watching. I mean, and you can feel how special that family is, you know.
Yeah.
And its place. And you know, it's interesting when you talk to someone like the second coming to me, if you want to call it that, is this, you know,
That's
to me,
right.
it's those altars. It's people like you that's holding space. It's like, it comes down into plethora of people. It may or may not be one person. If so, we've agreed not to talk about it. Just kidding. But like energetically, you know, it's happening. So it is happening. And I just want people to know that, you know, from meeting people like you, and I've had the pleasure of meeting people behind the scenes and won't go on camera, it's much more literal and happening than you would realize. So
It is. And it's so much more prevalent and happening in the everyday than we actually give it credit for.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it could even be someone driving in their car and being like, I'm going to go buy some flower seeds today. I have no idea why. Or I'm going to buy myself flowers and put them in a vase or something. Like that can be a message from Mother Mary, or any one of your spirit guides just saying, hey, you know, bring a little bit more beauty and grace and light into your life. Anchor this here. You know, it doesn't have to be this like big, I'm going to go walk in nature and receive a 45-minute download that's going to take me 5 years to build. I mean, that's great, right? But all of the things are important. It takes all of us tuning in and listening.
Yes.
And not one thing is more important than the other. They all have to work together. They're all pieces of a puzzle.
Yeah. It's divinely orchestrated. And part of the fun is just to sit back and watch how magical it is. And not question, you know?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Sometimes my mind is blown about through the synchronicities and the miracles and all the things that happen. It's like, what? You know, and that's the thing, is that Mother Mary is the most brilliant miracle maker, bringer of miracles that I have ever seen. Like just the way she's just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. The angels trip me up all the time. It's because I work with a particular angel, and I will pray, and somehow everyone around got a gift too, like they're on Oprah. Like they like take care of everyone in one stroke, like bling, and everyone around you gets a free gift. Look under your chair, you know, like they kind of do this efficient blessings. Like they can bless like with one wish, end up taking care of a whole bunch, like a whole neighborhood. It's and just to see it how it unfolded, it's like watching something, you know, magically unfold here in front of your eyes. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so I have, you know, I guess one final question. It's just, you know, what would be your message to parents and children, you know, after you've worked with them, you know, you've worked with them as a new earth guide yourself, and you witnessed some sort of change and transformation. And I feel like the final question is for someone who is needing these types of assistance that you have brought to the earth. Thank you for your craft and your talent.
Yeah.
What makes them say, yes, I do, you know, what can they expect if they were to go down the path with you? And what is the what is the yes? When do you know it's a yes that they're meant to follow this? Because I think a lot of people go, oh, that's them, that's not me. That's sensei, that's not me.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding you clearly. Can you maybe ask it in a different way?
Yeah, I think I was trying to wrap up the show and make a profound thing at the same time. I was trying to pull off a miracle, and clearly I'm not there yet. But no, the question is, I feel like there's people at home that are saying, that's them, not me. And ultimately, I was edging towards, you know, an experience or a share of what you have seen from a person maybe that said, that's not me. Like, just to give an example of what's possible, because I have a feeling intuitively there's people who need this, or need your help, or need, you know, someone like you.
I would say, like, just really trust the message that you feel in your body around, ooh, this feels like something's calling me.
Yes.
Something's calling me. I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna lean into that a little bit and see what happens.
Okay, exactly. That's what I think we needed.
Yeah.
To me, I would just add, you just know, and you don't know why you know. You know, you just know. And it's hard to believe that you know. You have no proof that you know, but it feels like anything you would know.
Yeah.
Like knowing is some sort of a message. The feeling of knowing something is a message. It's not a fact, you know?
Yeah. And some people I will hear, oh, I just know, or yeah, I'm curious. I felt something, and I'm just leaning in and seeing what happens.
Okay. And really, I think anytime people get that call, please listen, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
I think you'll be happy for it.
Yeah. And I would say, if it scares you, really lean into it.
Yeah.
Right.
If you say no in a nanosecond, it's a yes.
Yes, exactly.
The denial flies up right away. I'm not meant for that. Right?
Yeah,
so totally.
Exactly.
Is there something people can do on a website or whatnot to connect to you and sort of play in your garden?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I actually have a free gift that people can download. It's
Yay.
called, it's just an activity guide. It has 5 activities in it that help babies and kids connect with their body. It's 5 activities that support body awareness, that help them really know where their body is, how it feels, and how it moves. And it's 5 very different ones. And it can be really supportive, very grounded, very tangible for people to start with. So I would say, if that piques your curiosity, definitely download that. And there's all kinds of things for people to look at on the website there. And I would also say, if anything that we talked about today, like you felt like a ping, in your heart, or a nudge, or something in your body or your system that you're like, I feel like I really want to reach out to this person, then please, I would love to hear from you. There's a connect tab on my website, and you can send me a message and we can talk about ways that I might be able to assist you.
Brilliant. Yeah. Also include goosebumps, heat waves, chills.
Yes.
These are other yeah.
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 Feeling faint,
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, those all count. Yeah, totally. Well,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure, and we've flashed your website a lot. We've seen a lot of people have taken it. We'd love to,
Aw,
continue this
thank
journey with you at
you.
some point when it feels correct.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
if it's AlisonElsberry.com. We'll put it up for you all. Would you stay backstage for just a moment? So,
Oh,
we can
yeah, I'd love
fangirl you?
to.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. We appreciate it. So, well, Arch Retro, take you off,
Yeah.
and we'll see you soon. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
We
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. And thank you, everyone that, is here live and tuning in later. It's such an honor to connect with you.
And thank you, Mary.
Yeah, of course.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. Awesome. Boy, my energy totally came calm too in her presence, which I needed. I was, getting into the hummingbird zone, as I like to put it. We're going to wrap up here. We've gone a little long, but it was well worth it. I'm so proud of the celebrities we're bringing on this show. Seriously, it's just amazing. And when I thought when people said we're going to interview celebrities, you didn't know we were talking about Mother Mary, did you? You thought it was going to be Tom Cruise. Turns out, no. It's actually celebrities in heaven that are coming down, and it's amazing. And I'm honored, and just so honored that they find their way to our show and to our community. We should all be grateful. I mean, I'm sure you all are, but gosh, y'all, pretty crazy, pretty good. And I want to just promote some things as before we go. First of all, one of my favorite investments I've ever made, which is the LOL Leading Out Loud show. I don't know if you missed it, but I did yesterday. On the story. But the 3 went on. They're so amazing. My partners on this show. The topic is elemental magic, and they talk about elemental magic. And Scott and Devin and Chris are just beautiful souls. And we're on every Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We broadcast on our LOL Leading Out Loud channel. We're all channeling our own guides, and it's just a wonderful show, another family show for you to bring your spiritual family to. Also, for people that just need a little dose of light and you don't have the money yet, you're not ready, we are providing that. We are calling it the Daily Download with Heather Exposito. We're going to change the name, actually, because people are confusing it with an actual download. And we're like, okay, we don't want people to be confused. So I'll be promoting a new name soon, but it's Daily Downloads on the front page. And Heather is just bringing a very angelic, light, short and sweet, here's all you need to know today. And she's just backing out. And so we're trying to address all types of attention spans and all types of needs. And this is our first expansion into a different need in a different format. We also have our weekly town hall shows, TV shows, where we bring a person on camera. And this week is Keeping It Surreal. My soul sister, Kristen Ryder. She's going to be focusing on ultimately, I didn't write the title down, sis. I forgot. I guess I didn't type it up, but here it is. Flexible preservation. Here we go. Flexible perseverance in times of re-evolution. And I wrote that. I forgot it. And that's what it is. She's teaching. Kristen's going to be talking to people who have mastered how to remain flexible and persevere when something overwhelming is causing you or triggering you to evolve, such as a tragedy, a fire, an earthquake, a food shortage. if we get into these moments, how do we really respond? I'll tell you, it's not stop, top, and roll, which they told us in elementary school. That's full of BS. It's this stuff. So come on down and experience my soul sister, Kristen. Kristen and Christopher, all part of the Christ consciousness. You know, we were sold that lifetimes ago, and she is here to do the same thing. My soul sister. She's definitely the tough one in the family. Also, we have a new tag team astrology show going live sometime in the next couple of days with myself and Robbie Hunt, who is our lead astrologer on Sirius Joy. I'm differently than the lead astrologer. I have my other role, but together, when we come together, it's a magic, and we are recording these right now to replace the old megas. The old format just wasn't working for us to produce them because they were killing us and draining us. And so we found this new tag team way. So it's amazing. They'll be live soon. And there's the Mega Monthly Libra address where I go into the whole month of Libra. This is a part of the subscription to Sirius Joy that you can start for just $3.99 right now. If you feel a tingle in your heart, if your guides are nudging you, listen to your guides. There's a reason. We're here to help. Sharing is caring, if you don't know, and we have the new SiriusJoy.com. We'd love for you to share that. For instance, on the front page, you will see right here, well, I can't, behind the scenes, but you will see that we have the emojis of the week. We have the weather underneath. So you can basically see real quickly for free the major aspects and the moods for the next 3 days. We wanted to report for free what the step time was. What time is the step change? When does the step, what does this step mean? We're going to expand it over time. But right now, you know, this is what we could do, and we're going to continue to expand. So that's SiriusJoy.com. And for the subscription, $3.99 for the first 30 days. If you don't like it, cancel. I'm not going to risk my reputation with Mary and do anything funny like keep charging you. Come on. There's bigger things than money. So don't let money get in your way either. Really, let's not. We can work together to manifest together. I'll teach you how to do it. So as I was saying, sharing is caring. We appreciate when you share. That's also a gift to share us with people you love and to pay forward your trust with us and our brand, because we find that human trust from hand to hand is the most powerful there is. So thank you for those who share. Our Facebook group is a great way to hang out with many of our tribe. It's free. It's on Facebook. We will ask you some questions because we don't want any people in there that are going to mess things up. So we're not judgmental, but we are smart, and we will see and feel that. But come on down to SiriusJoy.club and hang out with us. You can follow us, by the way, on any aspect that we are on SiriusJoy.social. That will lead you to our linked tree. And we also have a podcast, if you'd rather listen instead of watch, on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. That audience growing every day. I want to say special thanks to our producer, Diane DeStefano, who I think found this wonderful guest. Our graphics, casting, and chat moderator, Nina Kay. She was doing the polls and rocking it. Our Galactic Grand Master Director, Adam Turner. We were learning every day is more like an alien. And our teaching staff, Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Devin Dewar, actually, we'll be talking about soon, some special stuff for her, Joe Zammett, Gwen English, Daiki Okamoto, and the Heather Exposito at the front door, greeting you in SiriusJoy.com. And a special thanks, we're wrapping this up now. Can we bring them on the screen, please, Adam? You know, a special thanks to the people that make this show fun and entertaining and feed me as I am starving to death to get off the show. And that will be our super friends, Sydney, Princess Coffee Bean, Jill Louise, Margot Malia, Lori Ship, Nikki Anderson, Experimental Elemental, Erica, Michelle Camper, Michelle Bell, my soul brother, Joe Blankenship. Going to see you soon, I hope. Neptune Girl, Jamar, Christine Kelly, Sydney, and of course, Iggy, who we talked about earlier, and Nitu, and who saw me today or texted me today. So hi, Nitu. All right, friends, we will be on at the regular time next week, but it's a week-by-week thing, and we'll let you know ahead of time when we're going to ship, but we are picking up stuff and getting ready to rock into a new vehicle. I'm excited to be a part of that. I'm excited to be a part of your life. I'm excited where we're taking this earth. As you can hear from this show tonight, it's not what they're telling you now, is it? There's a different story, and we have it here at Sirius Joy. Until next week, I love you. Live, love, be.